politics you represent in that memoir, the worldview you represent in that memoir still is to me tremendously appealing. So I was never claiming to be an expert in Afro-pessimism in favor or as a critic, but I just thought, it just seemed odd to me, some of the criticisms I was hearing of your work. So, which would include, for instance, some of the more easy stuff, the dismissal of feminism, Marxism, et cetera, and so forth, or discussing the limitations of those theoretical approaches. But the biggest ones are that your argument is discouraging of political activism, that it's just saying we should just give up and not struggle, and that it prohibits solidarity with other, particularly non-white colonized struggles and peoples moving in their movements. So in a recent interview, and I will get, I'm going to stop this long preamble in a minute, but I just wanted. I'm listening. I'm interested. No, I hear you. I hear you. But in a recent interview I did with Nora Erakat, the Palestinian lawyer and activist, she had put me in, she put me up on an interview that she had done with Mark Lamont Hill, where our interview for some years ago, one of them, a transcript of them, was used as a way to discredit Afro-pessimism and to say that Afro-pessimism encourages a lack of solidarity. And in that excerpted piece, you were saying, and I don't know, the transcript rang true to my memory, at least. What you were basically saying is that, listen, Palestinians will work with them and we'll struggle with them, but after we get them free from Israel, we're going to have to check them on their anti-blackness. And I said, I agreed. But this was extrapolated to mean that there can be no solidarity. And I've heard this many times. People have said this to me a lot. And I've always said, but I don't get that from your work. Now, it is true I don't understand everything, including your latest book. I'm not going to claim to understand it all. We'll get to that in a minute. But so I wanted to really just start right there. Can you just clarify, before we get into the depth as much as possible of of the theory, is your argument intending to discourage Black people from struggling at all, from appreciating their radical political histories? And are you saying that there should be no solidarity with other folks? Because to the point about Lewis Gordon, since then, I have read a good number of the critics. And on these issues, I don't understand or agree with what they're saying in terms of how they interpret your work. But anyway, so let's just start there. Are you saying any of that in your work, intending to at least?
Absolutely not. However, I do understand how it could be perceived as my having said that, because most people come at a unequivocally Black cry and an unapologetically Black analysis of everyone else. In other words, people experience us looking at them analytically as an assault on them. And so what happens is that Afro-pessimism is an analytic interpretation of everyone else's capacity. I'll repeat that, an analytic interpretation of everyone else's capacity. And just as Marx condemns the capacity of the capitalist, whether it's a good capitalist like George Soros, who is actually, I want to give a shout out to George Soros because he's a part of the distribution network for Afro-pessimism. When he poured millions of dollars into urban debate camps, what he did is he created a pipeline for Afro-pessimist texts to be infused in the inner city without even knowing what he did. So thank you, my man. You know what I'm saying? but what I'm trying to say is that what I don't give a fuck about. Can I swear on here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a little late.
I really don't care that the sentimental response to the analytic critique clouds the other person's capacity to understand the analysis. I think that we have.
Whoa, let's I'm gonna rewind.
Yeah,
that.
can you pull that? Whoa.
Yeah, I think I love that.
I kind of got a little
to the
lost
inner
there.
city without even knowing what he did. So
Yeah,
so
here we go.
thank you, my man. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, yeah, let's go back a little bit farther because what he did in the schools. Oops.
Network for Afro-Pessimism when he poured millions of dollars into urban debate camps. What he did is he created a pipeline for Afro-pessimist texts to be infused in the inner city without even knowing what he did. So thank you, my man. You know what I'm saying? but what I'm trying to say is that what I don't give a fuck about. Can I swear on here?
Absolutely.
Okay. I really don't care that the sentimental response to the analytic critique clouds the other person's capacity to understand the analysis.
You know, you won't believe this. I actually fucking feel that way all the time.
Really?
Especially on this channel. Okay, people, I don't care a lot.
Yep.
Okay, because you know what? I'm trying to think of a specific example. People just sometimes don't seem to understand that, I don't care doesn't mean that I hate something or anything like that. It's just, I'm not going to lose sweat over it.
Right. It doesn't move the needle for you.
Yeah, it does not move the needle, and it shouldn't move the needle. If it ever becomes necessary to care, I have the capacity to do that, but I'm not going to care before I have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that we, for hundreds of years, we have reached across the water and tried to help these people understand our suffering and understand their relationship to it, and that's a kind of cosmic manifestation that began, over 1,400 years ago in the Bantu.
Okay, is he saying something like, "Hey, you know what? Racism in America, that's a white people problem." Okay, I should not have to be a magical Negro, or
Right.
I should not have to bend over backwards to be a model minority,
Right.
just to appease white people.
Correct.
You know,
Yes.
Glenn Lowry, for instance, and others will go, "Oh, hey, we need to stop doing this because we're going to piss white people off. They're the majority. If they get pissed off, we're cooked." And I find that just fucking mealy mouth. Like, what? It's not our problem if white people can't handle shit. So I think that's what I hear him saying, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and
migration. It's called
I'm just gonna quick commentary. I think that's why he's getting criticized right now, because that is completely opposite of what the typical intellectual black dialogue is. It's hold white people accountable.
Yes.
Beat them down with white supremacy and racism and make them feel the pain that our ancestors have felt. And
like when I call Be Brave a stolen valor white man.
Yeah, right.
It's like, dude, you talk about how great your culture is. What have you done to improve it?
Exactly.
Not a damn thing.
And I'm not too familiar with Wilderson's his philosophy, but I'm curious to know if he's saying we need to work on our culture and figure out how to work through those issues internally before we start helping others, whether that's whites or non-whites or whatever. I wonder if that's where he's going.
Well, I would hope he would say we don't have to help others.
Right. I would agree with that too. We have to learn how to compete and coexist.
Exactly. And that's my whole point about damn the second best. We need to start looking to see what the Asians are doing as far as academics, etc. Whites are second best. Now, it's harsh, but it is statistically true.
Yeah. Let me tell a quick story, Stanley, because you just brought up something that reminded me. I used to
Sure.
do. I still do this, but this was back in maybe
Now, see,
2016.
hold on one sec. Let
But
me let me put this here. If you want revenge because of your ancestors, bring it. You will lose, motherfucker. I what when did I say anything about revenge? Did I say something that would suggest I'm gonna go out and fight?
in a weird way, I think that's actually a small percentage of black people, whether we're talking BLM types or whatever. I don't think a lot of black people want revenge. They want more of a pat on the head.
I don't even they shouldn't even want that.
I agree. I 100%
Fuck,
agree. It's like a
we are
weird validation type of thing.
exactly. We are fully formed. We don't have to care what white people think. As a matter of fact, just this morning, someone was talking about, well, yeah, a solid snake. Yeah, we have to care what white people think. Yeah, you represent the race. So and so, some famous black person represents the race. We have to care. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no single black person in this country, rich, famous, or whatever, represents the whole race.
Yeah.
This, you know, basically, and this is probably kind of real debatable. In my opinion, the black community ended once segregation ended. We were pretty much all out on our own. And I
hmm
think we probably fooled ourselves.
We did. Absolutely. And you know what, Stanley? I think about that time period a lot. I've done some of my own research there. What you just said is very important because what we created from there was this pro-black identity. I'm black and I'm proud. And we recreated the physical community into some like mythical
Yes.
movement. And we went from being black Americans, is how I look at it, to being black folks. And this is what I talk about, the racial idolatry all the time. It's like a belief, it's like a religion to black people. So when you hear a solid
It
snake
is.
say those things, if you go against that, it's like sacrilegious. Like you are doing something incorrect by not seeing yourself
Right.
as part of the collective. So that's why an individual like me, who, yes, I'm conservative to a certain extent, we are looked at as coons because everything we do is completely opposite of the common black narrative. It's very fascinating.
Well, let me put it to you this way. We're closer aligned than you might imagine. To the Hotep folks, fuck you too. I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be like white people. I want to be like me.
Yeah, yeah, and I honestly, Stanley, I think that's the way to really improve a lot of the issues that Black Americans have, is to be a little bit more independent focused and not so
Yes.
concerned about the race aspect. But and this is where, and I talk about this professionally too. We've all been racially socialized so bad, even white folks, that I don't think that we know how to exist without that filter.
Look, white people are not to the degree that black people are, but they're victims of white supremacy too.
Exactly.
And
But
I don't think white people understand that.
no, they don't. They don't. And honest, in a weird way, Stanley, the super liberal white folks who like fight against white supremacy, that's part of their victim mentality. Like they also have a version. They also have a version. It's the be braves of the world. They also have a victim mentality. But it's weird because they have the most benefits in the system, right? But they also suffer from it. Like they're not reaching their fullest potential either. This is one of the most fascinating things that I think I've come across when it comes to racism. And
Okay, whites don't perpetuate black racism. Blacks perpetrate it. Yeah, okay.
I think we all do in a way.
Yeah, I think we all do in our special ways.
Yeah. But anyway, we can play more of the video. We can dive
Oh
deeper.
yeah, yeah.
Appreciate it.
No, I'm enjoying.
which means goodwill and compassion and love of the other. And so what you can rightfully say is that there is no Ubuntu in Afro-pessimism. It's just a cold gaze. But that doesn't mean that it's actually saying what other people experience it to be saying. Solidarity is, I mean, I'm checking myself now at 65 on my solidarity. I'm fucking sick of it. I have struggled in more people's oppression contexts who are not Black over the past 53 years than I have in decidedly Black struggles. And so attitudinally, I don't have any more energy or compassion for someone who can't see that what you just said at the very beginning, that Israel is a blight on, if not the world, the Middle East. The United States is a blight on the world, and Israel is a extension of that blight. And so much in the Middle East would be restabilized if Israel did not exist. But that restabilization would not do anything essential for the liberation of Black people. And I did a 6-hour Afro-pessimist workshop for 35 activists / leaders of Black Lives Matter from Pennsylvania, New York City, and New Jersey back in 2016. This was at actually the Audubon Ballroom, which is now the Malcolm X Shabazz Foundation. And in that 6-hour workshop, the Black Lives Matter people talked to me about a sojourn they took to Palestine for 2 weeks, in which they were going with this whole idea that Ferguson is Palestine. And before they went, they had asked the Palestinians in Gaza if they could meet, and Ramallah, if they could meet Black Palestinians. And they were told yes. And when they got there, they were redirected for almost 10 days away from meeting any Black Palestinians. And when they finally put their foot down and insisted that they do that, they had one-on-ones with Black Palestinians who talked about the structural feeling of anti-Blackness that they experience in a community that's being bombed every day by the Israelis, okay? They didn't talk about Israeli anti-Blackness. They talked about Palestinian anti-Blackness. I had the same experience when I spent 6 weeks in Cuba, and this is, and I'm really sick and tired of people, and what I mean by that is I was with Medea Benjamin's group, Global Exchange, in Cuba for 6 weeks. And we were 13 Americans, 3 of us Black, and we were paired with 2 young communists. And we went all around the island together for that period. And we met with government officials and went to hospitals. It was a groovy experience. And then at one point, the Black Cubans said, we would like a session with the Black Americans, just the 3 Black Americans. And so 3 Black Americans met with about 8 Black Cubans out of that 26 group of Black Cubans. And the white people from the United States, the 10 white people, were like, okay, cool. We'll go on a field trip for a day, so y'all can have the crib. We lived in this big house in Verdado, which was a rich neighborhood that had been subdivided for poor people. But the white Cubans were like, what the hell is going on? We're all communists here. We're all, and to make matters even worse, so this is why psychoanalysis is so important to Afro-pessimism, because the force of the unconscious is what you described to me in your opening remarks. And the force of the unconscious actually doesn't have any relational dynamic to it. The force of the unconscious was such that these 3 Black Americans, one of them was fluent in Spanish. Another one was taking intermediate Spanish. I was taking beginning Spanish, okay? But because I was the oldest, I guess, I don't know, or maybe the darkest, I don't know. But the white Cubans vamped on me and demanded that I come to some kind of luncheon tribunal with them where they accused me of fomenting racial divisions on the island. This is a
Wow.
global phenomenon where these people feel victimized by our critique of their capacities to be, and often of how they use their capacities. And I'm very sorry. Afro-pessimism is about them. It is not to them. There's been too many hundreds of years of Ubuntu where we have said, okay, how are you feeling about this? How are you experiencing this? Okay, I don't give a rat's ass anymore. So in that regard, they're right. But in terms of the analytic, they're absolutely wrong, because I've done nothing but solidarity work throughout my whole goddamn life.
I like him.
So what about also the specific criticism that Afro-pessimism dismisses the Black liberation movement, all of the work, all of the George Jackson work, all of the BLA work, all of the, you know, Asada, etc. And then even this other thing, by the way, you don't have to respond to this. This is up to you. But I forgot to mention that the reason
here's the deal. Here is where they're going to lose me with the Marxist framework.
Yep.
You know what? I'm just not going to be able to go that far. I will do anything. I will do anything for love, but just not that. Here, I'm going to put a link in the back for you. I found a part 1 of the audiobook Afro-Pessimism.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank
it's
you.
7 hours. There is no part 2 that I can find, but it'll at least get you started.
Perfect, thank you.
I eventually took down the Lewis Gordon video, which I think the only video I've ever willfully took down. By the way, my bad. Please forgive me, everybody. Just real quick, the remix show from Thursday, a couple people have asked about it. Google took it down, YouTube took it down, Alphabet took it down. And I suspect it was because of the sort of naturalist discussion around responses to COVID. And even though I have already said I am vaccinated and I'm on the side of the people I interviewed the other day, the medical practitioners that encourage us to get vaccinated, I am not in favor of censorship. So I'm not cool that they took our shit down. I am not cool that they took our video down, even if I disagree with the particular message in the video. But that's what happened, by the way. The reason I'm bringing that up here, Frank, is because I took down, the only time I willfully took down a video that I can think of, at least, is the Lewis Gordon video. Because, not because he disagreed with you, but because he insinuated that your story about your experience in South Africa was not true. And when I asked him to come back on, I felt like after the interview, I thought, man, I let that go. I felt uncomfortable. So I reached back out to him and said, would you come back on and either lay out your evidence or, you know, take it back or whatever. He basically said no. Long story short, he said no. So I took the video down. So that's why I just
I hear you.
It didn't sit right with me. If you have evidence that Frank is lying, then say it. Otherwise, I don't think it's fair to disparage the argument by suggesting his personal story is not true when you have no evidence to say it. I should have checked it at the moment when it happened. I didn't, and then so I anyway tried to correct it coming back, and he didn't want to engage going further than that. So
you know what, that's okay, because I will tell you this. I was hired and fired almost on the same day in 2005 at the University of California, Irvine, because a cat named David Theo Goldberg, who's a white South African, said the very same thing about me and put that shit in the dean's ear. And then she rescinded my provisional hire based upon the fact that I was being called Jason Blair in advance, the dude who made up the stories a long time ago. And what happened was, thank you very much to Professor Joy James, because I had made $20,000 the year before as a graduate student. Okay, I'm not anywhere near that low now. Okay, and I didn't have the money to pursue that. And Joy James loaned me $2,000 to get a lawyer to sue the University of California, Irvine, and my wife, Anita Wilkins, who was not my wife at the time, was on sabbatical in South Africa in 1992, and in her travel journals that she has from all over the world. She has a very detailed description of a meeting where Nadine Gordimer, the Nobel laureate, had nominated me to take her place at the annual convention of the Congress of South African Writers on the executive board. And there were 100 delegates, and I won by 99 votes. Then an ANC official in the government of Pretoria wrote a letter about my participation. And the other thing that they said I was lying about was that they said, Samuel Jackson never performed your work at the Negro Ensemble in 1988. Okay, which was actually on HBO. So I have experienced this for almost 20 years now, and it's nothing new. I think that, I went to South Africa. There were 100 Black people living there. No, 100 Americans living there, living permanently there when I went. And most of them were doing stuff for either the State Department or USAID or NGOs. And I joined the ANC, and so I'm happy about that. And there are people who have actually
decided
supported
to terrorist.
my claims. I've documented verification of all that.
You need to read that book.
Go ahead. I just had to get
No,
that
I mean,
out.
it's cool. I appreciate that. I was just saying, the other thing I'm on the record is saying, by the way, on that issue, just for the record again, is that look, I couldn't prove one way or another, and I ultimately don't care. And if what you did politically with Incognegro was enough for me. So if anyway, that's where my bias is. That the argument you lay out in there, the history you draw out in there, the views of the struggle in South Africa that you put on that. I'm like, to me, I don't mean to disrespect your real life and what you're saying about your real life. I'm just saying, even if it wasn't true, I wouldn't get that. Damn difference. But because my point is, let's talk about what he's saying and politically, and that's ultimately where. So the last point before we get to by the way, your critics would also say that, in terms of your point about Soros, that in fact, because Lewis Gordon in another video I saw did make this point, that your work is being used to destroy the debate scene for Black youth. So when you say Soros is the one putting it there, a lot of people would say, so that's evidence right there, because Soros is seen by a lot, including myself, as not a positive influence on certainly Black radical struggle. So
you did what I just said as with the tone of irony. If
I hear you.
If George Soros and I think we got to say it very clearly without being ironic. If George Soros and I sat down, we could not agree on lunch. He's just a dirty liberal-ass capitalist to me. He did something accidentally, like a good liberal. He tried to help some Negroes in the ghetto form debate camps. They picked up the work and began it. So here's what I think people are pissed off about. Afro-Pessimism has one addressee, which is Black people who are sick and tired. It doesn't have three addressees, such as Native Americans, Black people, Palestinians, Latinx immigrants. It has one addressee. Now, anybody can read it because it's in English, but it is not written to anybody. It is only written to people who are ready to set it off, or interested in setting it off, or privately disturbed by what they're going through and likely to say it publicly. And I think that what people say is, you should be writing to a wide range of people. You should be writing to a wide range of cognitive perceptions. And I just say no, absolutely.
Well, it's also it's also that you are said to be writing to an academic intelligentsia, so to speak. That when you're saying you're writing to Black audiences, it's not all Black audiences.
Yeah, but I would say two things. One, this book changes the paradigm, or that this is a trade book. But I would also say that people have to really pay close attention to what they're saying. We have suffered slings and arrows in the academy for trying to get this out. Okay, it has not been well received in the academy. That's number one. Number two, what people are not, who say that, are not actually getting to is the fact that I've been to personally Black community centers in Los Angeles, Black community centers in Oakland, Black community centers in Black Montreal, Black community centers in Vienna, Austria, where semi-degreed and undegreed people are reading early Afro-Pessimism and understanding that the energy and the affect is with them, and that the only thing that they have to get over is like the instrument, like John Coltrane getting over the instrument, is the words and the language. I worked in Soweto with kids who were going home and going to the United Nations Food Bank and bringing grains of grain, bags of grain to their homes, and then coming back to school in a place called Pimville, a part of Soweto, where we would have Antonio Gramsci reading groups, okay? And you know how hard that language is, okay? And all those kids brought a thesaurus, and we sat around and we got through it, okay? So all those people who are talking this smack is really, it's just their way of degrading what we're doing without looking at the hardcore evidence. There are people in the ghettos who are reading this work before this book came out.
Well, I've said some of the trouble you've caused me. One of the good things you caused by especially this visit this morning or this afternoon is that my brother, I'm just seeing it and I'm late to it, so I'll get the response to you shortly. But shout out to Luke Stewart, also at WPFW, whose Radical Jazz listening group is checking this out and looking to extend the conversation in their group beyond today. So I appreciate that, and they're very excited for this discussion. So I appreciate that in them, and Luke in particular, a real good brother over there at PFW. So anyway, so thanks. It gave Luke an excuse to me after some time. That's what's up. One more thing I did want to ask you, when I was doing not all the reading, let me rephrase that. When I was trying to do some of the reading of the criticism, so that to address what I thought was right, what Lewis Gordon said to me, at least for me, like I had not really read that much of it. One of the things I saw was that that piece where Orlando Patterson is quoted in the Times as sort of dismissing your take on his social death analysis. Did you ever respond to that, or did you have any thoughts on that, or does that mean anything, or how, or what do you do with that?
First of all, I thank Orlando Patterson for a groundbreaking work, Slavery and Social Death. I mean, there are certain books that are out there that we could not have formulated this analysis of Black suffering. That's all it is. It's an analysis of Black suffering. It is not a blueprint of what to do about that suffering. It is not a historical kind of account of that suffering. It is not a sociological intervention of that suffering. It's an analytic. It's like looking at a piece on the chessboard that's a queen, and looking at another piece on the chessboard that's a pawn, and saying, before anything happens, what is the capacity of the queen, and what is the capacity of the pawn? That's all we're doing, okay? And so I think that there are people who are alive and dead who intend to do more in their work, and we have taken this little nugget from their work to expand our project, and they don't like it. I mean, I think I've heard through the grapevine that Hortense Spillers has had some issues, and we could not be anywhere and anything without her work. I know that Frantz Fanon, who is a humanist, is rolling around in his grave every time we mobilize him. And the way I say to that is that, well, Fanon, wait for David Marriott to die. And when David Marriott dies and gets to heaven, he will teach you how to read your work a little bit better, okay?
Oh, damn. But you can see why people would be like, Frank, come on, man. That sounds...
Damn, I like that.
When my crew dies, we're going to get there and tell Fanon how to better read his own work. That's gangster.
And yeah, it is. But the reason I say that is because so many Black writers, me included, although I'm like this in person, but not like this on the page. So many Black writers are so traumatized by the comprehensive scope of
Yep.
Black suffering
Yep.
as they look at it, that
Oh man.
that by the time they get to what I would call metaphorically the end of,
that is a big point, Stanley. and as somebody who, in my real life, I've written a lot of things on just analyzing Black community, whether
Mhm.
it's been for school. I've written for the oldest Black newspaper in the state of Minnesota. I've been a columnist on that for almost 10 years now. Actually, damn, it's past 10 years. Holy shit. So, you know, he's being very honest about that. And I appreciate that, because a lot of Black academics in many different fields, a lot of Black writers, they so I've noticed that sometimes they're afraid to get beyond the Black, like, identity and the race thing. And I think it
What
actually,
do you mean get beyond? You mean like
I
into
thi-
like, hey, let's get past this. You're just a horrible human being.
yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it, but also I feel like they don't write about anything but the Black experience. And
I get
I think that limits their skills and their talents and probably their gifts, because they don't know what else to talk about. Like, one of the things I pay attention to, Stanley, are dissertations. I'm a fucking nerd, but I read people's dissertations. I help people who get PhDs as well.
you. Mhm.
I'm on a couple master's projects right now for one of the schools I'm associated with. And these are students from all ethnic backgrounds. Stanley, every year, the Black students that come to me, they all want to talk about race. They can talk about anything they want.
Interesting.
They all talk about race. It never fails. And what I end up doing,
Hey, let
Stanley,
me ask you a quick question about those people, though.
yeah,
What's their background? Um,
well,
are they middle class from the projects?
yeah,
I
good
mean,
question.
or
It's
is
a
it
mix. It's a
a
mix.
variety?
Yeah, it's typically a mixed, with the master project level students, a lot of them are folks who came from, like, working class backgrounds. They've elevated, they kind of, developed their own academic, and then they went on to get a master's degree. Usually they're from working class backgrounds. For the PhD students, I get all types of mixes. A lot of people from middle class backgrounds for the PhD students. But it never fails, though, Stanley. They always want to talk whatever topic, chemical dependency, um, working with a peer mentor. It doesn't matter. They always have a racial lens on it. It's very interesting. So what I end up doing is I try to challenge them to think, what are you really trying to solve, or what are you really trying to find out or discover with your research? And does race have to be a part of that equation? Because I feel like, man, there's so many, like, brilliant people that limit their ability to, like, do things because they just can't stop thinking about race.
Can what do you think about this comment here?
Let's see. Have you seen a lot of white streams centered around race these days? Um.
Well, no, no, no. What do you think about it? Why would someone ask?
Oh, why? The
Why
actual
would
statement
someone
itself?
ask me this question? I,
Because I don't know, Stanley. That's my
let
that's
me
my answer.
let me respond to it. Um, I'm literally here doing something that I find interesting with a professional who has more credentials than me, who finds it interesting too. We get to kibitz about it. Do you know how fucking rare that is in my life? So my point is, why the fuck would I care what white streams are doing? Why would what they're doing have a bearing on what I want to do? You see where I'm going with this? They're not my compass. I don't go around to white streams wondering what they're doing and wanting to emulate or not emulate. Dude, get a grip. My life is not white centric. So, anyway, that's my response.
You can roll the clip. I don't have anything to add to it. It's
Race topics have become uninteresting to me the older I get. Yeah, well, EAE, you're looking to a Trekkie future. Essentially what's going to happen here is people are going to get pissed because we're not worshiping white culture. That's basically what this is going to be about.
you
The
know what's
book,
also
they say,
interesting.
how can I put some relief
I can't
in this?
believe I can't believe this motherfucker has the gall to ask
So many
me
Black
about
writers are so traumatized.
about what white people are doing on their streams. God damn, dude.
We're actually having a racial conversation that's probably atypical from most racial conversations that happen online. Like we're looking at a specific philosophy, a state of mind. And honestly, I think this is what more people who do talk about race should do. They don't look at the academics. And that's where a
Right.
lot of this stuff starts.
Oh, dude, you are so fucking right.
They don't. They
Ground
find
yourself in an actual systematic, as Wilderson says, analytic. This is fucking about feelings.
Yeah, but see, Stanley, this is this is the problem. Most people, and not just Black people, most people, they stay in the emotional state. They can't process the analytical piece, and that's why they need a Tariq Nasheed or Dr. Umar or whoever, somebody who dumbs the bigger things down.
Right.
You okay, 12th man?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Got some
Well,
background.
I just like Sam Fisher has fallen to second place in the final round of our group. So if Stanley might find it in his heart to share the link, then maybe we can get some more votes to help us win a decent amount of money. And
you're gonna
maybe
share.
Can you put the link in the back chat?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, we've fallen to second place in the channels, and I think I already made a deal with Portia. Every vote donated, like if you pay for votes, like I will do my best to reimburse dollar for dollar if you care to pay for a vote. And it is 2-for-1. It is 2-for-1 today for I think at least another half hour or so. So yeah, it makes me a little nervous that little dog getting ahead of me, Stanley.
Yeah, just I'll drop the link.
Perfect.
Yeah, like I don't keep anyone's names or anything.
Can you put
like
the link
that.
in the back? Can you put the link in
Yeah,
the back?
I think I just did, didn't I? Yeah, it's back there, Stanley.
Okay. Let's see. I must be in the wrong.
Trying to make Sam Fisher win, and currently he's in second place. So obviously we need some help right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Universal Jones.
No problem.
You might help out, man.
Yeah, I have my stream going too, so I'll throw it in my chat and I'll put it in my description for folks who might come by later.
Yeah, I know Portia wants Sam Fisher to win and AP, and I think Stanley and everybody were rooting for Sam and me. My name is Jeremy. If you want to call me Jeremy, that's okay too. But I really appreciate y'all for taking the time out for that. You know, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Thank you, 12 man. Tyrone, welcome. Greetings, sir.
Hey, Tyrone.
What's going on? Who is that? Universal and Stanley,
In Virgo.
Virgo's here. She's
12th
been pretty quiet, but
man,
she's here.
12th man,
We
Virgo.
bored
I'm
her
here.
out.
I'm back. I'm back and forth. Hey.
Virgo, you be bullshitting. You always be around. You just be lurking. And then when
No,
you
I
get
mean,
a
I'm
chance to say,
right.
when you
Right
get a
this
chance to say
second, I
some
was
shit, you say it.
right this second. My husband's talking to his good high school friend. So
Your husband
um,
doesn't care what you do. You ring your husband. There ain't nothing wrong with that. You understand what I'm saying? That's what
Then
submission gets
Tyrone,
you. That's what
you
submission
sound
gets
like me when I
Virgo.
get drunk,
Virgo,
Tyrone.
most women don't understand what submission gets them. Evidently, you submit because you're able to come on this panel and chat and kick it and talk shit. And I know that you submit to
Oh
your
boy.
husband because of that. And if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to come over here, come on this motherfucker in peace.
Gotcha. Juan,
absolutely.
what's going on?
What's going on, Stanley?
Oh, nothing much. Just catching up on some philosophy.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here blowing and flowing it. I want to know what the topic is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the topic is Afro-Pessimism with Dr. Frank Wilderson.
Afro-pessimism. So you're pessimistic and you're not optimistic?
I'm learning what to be.
Oh. So in all of your 60 years, what have you been practicing? Pessimism
Well,
or
no,
optimism?
I have been practicing being Stanley Cross and saying fuck you to everybody else.
Yeah, a pessimistic then.
No, that's not pessimistic. As a matter of fact, that's really positive. It's pro
No,
Stanley
pro Stanley.
and it's anti bullshit.
Answer bullshit. Hey, I get that, Stanley. I like that. And this is what I want, Stanley. This is what I want. I want me and you to take on Be Brave
Oh,
and Judge.
tag team match. Oh shit.
Tag team. Because
Yeah, it'll
what
have to
Be
be a
Brave
cage
doesn't
match.
understand is the white man himself and their culture and their history, they robbed and pillaged and did raped and everything to every other ethnicity. And for him to sit there and say 70%, it's 90% of whites that agree with that.
Mm.
You know what? The white man what?
The white man has robbed, raped, stolen, indoctrinated, and changed the history of all kinds of people on this earth by them
And apparently put
colonizing.
smallpox in
Let
their
me make a
blankets.
proposal. Let me make a proposal for tonight. Let's not make this about the white man. Let's just watch what this esteemed philosopher has to say
Allegedly.
about the book that he wrote.
Oh, I'm down with that, Stanley. Let's do it.
This is not going to be bash the white man or even talk about the white man if we can get around it.
Hey, Stanley, can I ask you a question?
Sure thing.
What? If I send you a 50 cash app, could you vote on Sam Fisher with that 50?
Man, go feed Sam Fisher, man.
What?
We talking about some other shit right now.
Why can't you just spend the 50?
Spend the
I'm
50
not
on
allowed
Sam
to
Fisher,
vote
man.
for.
We talking about some other shit.
I'm not allowed to vote. I'm not allowed to vote for myself.
We don't give a fuck about Sam Fisher. Me and Stanley give
Oh,
a fuck
come
about
on
black
now.
man and black woman. Me and
That dog
Stanley
didn't do
are
nothing
against
to you.
anti-black,
There's a
against
lot of animal
anti-black
abuse going on
motherfuckers.
on this
That's
channel.
what me and Stanley. That's me and
Yeah,
Stanley's
P
fight
Black,
right now. The
P Black
anti-black
chipped
motherfuckers.
in. Now you with Sam
Judge and
Fisher.
Be
Come
Brave.
on now.
Stanley,
Yeah.
when you gonna be ready, Stanley?
12th man. If you want to do
Man,
it,
I'm not talking about no Sam Fisher. I want
okay,
to know
let
when
me
we're
What's
gonna
up,
be ready
Juan?
for Judge
Leave
and Be
me.
Brave.
I'm gonna call Peter.
Wait,
let me address my esteemed colleague, 12th man, please.
Man, 12
Um,
Man is not an esteemed colleague with Sam Fisher. That's Batman and motherfucking Robin. And we're not doing that right now.
yeah,
We're talking about
we can do that later.
the plight of black people, and anti-blackness is what we're talking about and what we're dealing with, Stanley. And if 12 Man is not on our side, then we got to get with the people that's
Well,
on
I
our
don't
side.
think there's a side being presented here. We're just trying to listen to this guy talk. That's pretty much it. Hey,
I don't
Juan.
want to hear about Sam Fisher. That's a
Okay,
motherfucking
well,
dog.
that's
He
cool.
got a fucking better life
Frank,
than I got. So
Frank
I'm
Hey,
jealous
will,
of Sam Fisher.
he's
So
Frank
the
Wilderson,
channel.
Frank
that motherfucker
Wilderson
can
He's
breathe. I
is
don't give a
not to
fuck.
mention dogs.
he's
Juan,
the
are you?
channel mascot, so he's gonna be discussed whether you like it or not.
Okay, look,
'Cause
guys,
he's the
guys,
channel mascot.
hold on. We're not gonna
Motherfucking Sam
fight
Fisher.
over a dog. I hope.
I'm not fighting over no dog.
Hey, Juan, are you familiar with Frank Wilderson at all?
Stanley, where you come up with this Frank Willerson person?
I've known about him for years, but Universal found this video because I think you told me about it and I've forgotten about it. So he and I have kind of chatted about Wilderson and Tommy Curry, and it's kind of work related, to be honest, for Universal and for
Yeah.
me.
So what's his theory?
Well, basically, his theory is number one, black people just kind of need to stop caring what other races think and just be us.
Right.
Do you feel that way, Stanley?
Oh, 200%. Sometimes we are our own enslavers.
Yeah,
Correct.
be yourself. Don't be a fake. I mean, goddamn. Be who
Some
you
12
people,
Man,
are.
not all
12
the
Man,
time, but
12
I
Man.
would almost say
Go feed
I would
Sam Fisher some beef
almost
jerky.
I
We
would
talking black
almost
You
talk.
say,
already ate?
oh god damn, dude, I'm gonna start putting people in the back. We got to keep an
We're talking
orderly
black
channel.
talk. You can put me in the back, but we still talking black talk when you bring me back.
Okay,
So
what I'm gonna say, I think I've almost forgotten it now.
no.
I was gonna say that to backtrack a little bit, I think the black community, as we thought of it, as a solid, like everybody pulling equally yoked, pulling in the same direction, that pretty much ended when integration ended. And I think possibly that we have been carrying this notion of solidarity and all that stuff longer than we actually should have been. We need to be a lot more individualistic, pull together when it's necessary. But in 2025, I I don't need to be down with Black Power. I have a son to raise, a house to keep clean, dinner to cook, and a show to run occasionally.
And cookies to bake.
Exactly.
So Stanley, I don't think that there's a such thing as a black community. We have neighborhoods.
I literally just said that.
No,
Not
you
not
didn't.
one that's not
No, you
one on
didn't.
a national level.
You look, Stanley, you are articulate in what you say. And the people that are on here, Stanley, you have to be careful when you're talking. You got to start talking in layman's term for a lot of people on here because you are letterman. You understand what I'm saying?
Let me
You're a
tell you a
walking
story.
dictionary, a walking thesaurus. So you can't talk to everybody
This
like
is
that
my
on here.
normal way of talking, and I'm not going to
I
code.
know it is, but you got to break
I'm
it
not
down.
going
You
to
got
dumb
to
it.
break it down
I
in
didn't
layman's
dumb it
term for a
down.
lot of us.
I didn't dumb it down with my own child.
I'm not your child though.
No,
And
no,
what I'm
no.
saying
I'm
is,
not even talking about you. I'm
look,
just saying.
you taught your
I'm
child to be
just
astute.
saying.
You taught your child to be astute and
I'm not
literate
going to
to a lot
change
of things. But I wasn't privy to that. And what I'm
to
saying
your
is,
to your
what I'm
point. To your point. No, I'm not going to change the way I talk. And I'll tell you a quick story. It's a Navy story. we were preparing for another major engineering inspection. It was over Christmas. My boss went home for Christmas. I was the acting chief engineer while he was away. So, my charge is to get this engineering plant ready for a major inspection. I go down to one of the engine rooms and one of the so E7s down there. I go down there. The captain and I go down to inspect this engineer.
Stanley, you muted yourself.
Yeah. The chief, here we are. This dude has a bucket hanging on a pipe catching an oil leak. Okay. Like a week before an inspection. So I go find he's in charge of the space. I go, well, chief, what are you doing? You've literally got flammable oil dripping into a bucket. Why not just tighten the fitting? So it doesn't leak. So he goes into this spiel about, well, sir, it's the holidays and this, that, and the other. And you know what? I couldn't lose it like I ordinarily would because the captain was there. But I looked the chief in his eye and I told him, Chief, I'm not coming down to your level. You need to come up to my level. That is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go down to anyone's level. If they think they need to come up to my level, and I doubt that they do, that's what's going to happen, not the opposite.
But Stanley, everybody doesn't understand your level.
I don't give a fuck.
That's fucked up.
Do some
Because you as an elder,
hey, if you need,
Can I finish, Stanley, please? Can I finish? You as an elder, Stanley, you should be willing. You should be willing to communicate. You should be willing to communicate to the people under you in whatever terms you have to do that.
No one's under me on this point. We're all the same. We're all the same level. If you have a question or need me to explain, just ask me to explain. We're all adults here. We're all equal. I should not have to talk down to another adult. So that's what I have to say. And I'm open to critique. Virgo, 12th man, Universal Jones is a professional in communication and other things. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm actually open to whatever y'all think I need to do.
No, Stanley, don't change who you are. That's why we love you, Stanley.
I think you're doing a great job, Stanley, myself.
In all honesty, Tyrone, it's a sign of respect. I respect y'all. I think that y'all are smart and you can understand me. So yeah, I can be a little assholish, but I mean, in the end, I do respect the folks who come up on these panels and kibitz. So I guess we'll go forth, and if nobody has anything, we'll sally forth.
Yeah,
In Universal, I did kind of a down and dirty of explaining Afro-Pessimism. Feel free to.
I think you're pretty accurate. From my understanding so far, you're pretty accurate. Like, again, this is a new term for me. I just got into it today. So
Cool.
So Stanley,
yes, sir.
Stanley, can I ask you a question, Stanley?
Sure.
So do you think you could handle if I sent you $100 and then turn around and put it toward my dog?
What I would like to do is wait till either tomorrow morning when I have more time to do it. I'm in the middle of something right now.
Well, it's 2-for-1 votes right now. But
cool.
There'll be another 2-for-1 later this week. Maybe I can
I'm not going to stop what I'm doing.
No, that's all right.
It needs to be done later. If you want to do it maybe after I'm done with this, we can do it that way.
All right. To email or something.
Yeah, just this has nominally what about an hour and 20 minutes or so, 24 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's early in the week, so
Gotcha.
we do have a few days left, and there will be one more 2-for-1 vote day, but
Well, I
we need a.
plan on helping you out with this period, just not this moment.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Stanley. Thank you.
Comprehensive scope of Black suffering as they look at it. That by the time they get to what I would call metaphorically the end of the book, they say, how can I put some relief in this book? How can I put some redemption? How can I put some hope? As opposed to saying, hey, I'm going to cut it off right here and let Black people in the streets figure out what to do with that. That's why I think there's a hope in Afro-Pessimism, because I believe Afro-Pessimism does something for revolution, which frees the imagination of Black people to the point where you can look at yourself and engage your imagination without having to ask yourself, how is my desire going to affect the non-Black person next to me? No, I'm for solidarity, but it's not a two-way street. It is okay, I'm gonna get gangster on you, right? Okay, because it is not a two-way street. It is incumbent upon them to figure out how they can be in solidarity with Black people, not incumbent upon us to figure out how we can be in solidarity with them. And it's precisely because, as I said in the opening chapter of this book, that the unconscious of the Palestinian is structured by the same anti-Blackness as the unconscious of the Israeli. It just so happens that economically and territorially, the Palestinian is suffering. So provisionally, we're down with him, her, or them until they stabilize something. But once they stabilize something, we're going to have to destroy what they've actually created.
So
precisely because their capacity to be is dependent upon our ongoing destruction of our capacity to be. Now that's an argument. It's not a sentiment.
now there are two, if I remember correctly in your book, there are two stories you tell that address this point. One, so if you could, because this is so quickly, I agree. Reading Afro-Pessimism, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say I understand everything. I'm not going to say I agree with everything, but I enjoyed it. And it was not the I guess the intellectual heavy lift that some of your other works have been. Incognito notwithstanding, you took me back to that, so I appreciate that. You made it easy for some of us, or whatever you had to do. I appreciated that. But there are these two stories. One where you're sitting with the Palestinian.
Stanley kicked me out.
What the fuck? Tyrone, there are two of you now. Are you switching phones or something?
No, I'm gonna go out and come back in. I'm gonna come back in. I'm gonna go out and come back in. All
right, Tyrone.
It's Saturday night.
I wonder T's gonna come on later.
Who?
T, Chili Podcast. T.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Let's see. Let's get back to this.
And he makes the comment about the Ethiopian Jew, which if I'm understanding if I understood it, you might want to maybe quickly allude to here. And then the other one about, oh, now I'm forgetting the details about it was one of them a Sudanese. They got into a fight and then oh man,
The
I'll look
Palestinians
for it.
fought with the Kuwaitis.
That's what it was. That's
Yeah,
what it was.
yeah.
But in each case, but in each of these stories, they kind of tell they explain the point that you're making about the lack of a two-way street to blackness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, let's be very clear. And this is another controversial point. What is blackness? Some people, and I mean, what are we trying to say here about the black as a position? We're not saying that blackness is devoid of all of the cultural and linguistic accoutrement that comes, say, from that even someone that I have issues with, like Ron Karenga, would bring up, or comes from Pan-Africanism. We're not dismissing that. We're actually asking the question that Fanon asks in the opening chapter of The Wretched of the Earth. He says, the native does not always tell the truth. The native is the truth. And then he says, what is the native the truth of? The native is the truth of the settler's undoing. And what he means by that, he doesn't mean, how do Algerians think about themselves? How do Algerians feel about occupation? How do Algerians feel about communism? How do Algerians feel about Islam? He simply means that there has been a structural wrong done to Algerians, and they embody that in their corporeal reality, in their bodies. And if you were to right that wrong, then the category of the settler and the native would be destroyed, and we'd be into a new world. And that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying, is
very
that
critical theory.
anti-blackness is the embodiment. Blackness is many, many things. But the one thing that is the truth of it at the core, not the totality, the truth, is that it is the embodiment of a kind of violence and positioning that cannot be reconciled, cannot be analogized with the violence that is suffered by other kinds of people. That's the argument. We get that argument.
Okay, we got to stop it right here. This is perfect and an antidote to Thomas Sowell and the other people like Thomas Sowell who want to say that everywhere, every society had slavery. Essentially, no two slaveries are alike.
John, Stanley, can you rewind it back so we can hear his point again?
Okay.
And greetings to those who just entered the chat. Salute.
You want? Let me tell me if this is
violence and positioning.
A little further.
You want to go back to the Algerian thing?
No,
in their
right here,
reality, in their bodies. And if you were to right that wrong, then the category of the settler and the native would be destroyed, and we'd be into a new world. And that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying, is that anti-blackness is the embodiment. Blackness is many, many things. But the one thing that is the truth of it at the core, not the totality, the truth, is that it is the embodiment of a kind of violence and positioning that cannot be reconciled, cannot be analogized with the violence that is suffered by other kinds of people. That's an argument.
Okay, essentially, American slavery is different than Arab slavery in Africa, different than African on African slavery, European slavery, the Slavs. You can't analogize. You can't say that every society on earth, every society in history has had slavery. Every one of those slaveries has been unique unto itself.
Yep.
And Thomas, that's what I've been saying all along. You can't just say everybody did it. It's cavalier.
Yeah. And also with that, everyone's or the ripple effects of those experiences are different for different people.
Absolutely.
And I think the American slavery experience is very unique, and has led us to what we are dealing with today, for better or for worse. But I don't think that it should be an excuse today for the things that we can achieve, and that's where we get into a lot of back and forth with people.
Well, I mean, all he's saying is it's different. It doesn't have to be an impediment. He hasn't gotten that far.
Correct.
But it's now I'm going Eureka because it's been something that I've been kind of thinking about and railing against for quite some time, years. So I probably a little happier than everyone else.
Argument. We get that argument by extending and distending the calculus of Fanon, by extending and distending the calculus of Orlando Patterson. Orlando Patterson has said, people, stop thinking about slavery as a historical event. People, stop thinking about slavery as people chopping cotton. People, stop thinking about slavery as people in chains and whips. Think of slavery the way Marx thought of capitalism, as a relational dynamic. And that was a brilliant breakthrough. The only problem is that he says that everyone was at some point not a slave and then became a slave. And what we're arguing is that Black comes into being through the vamping on East Africa by Arabs, Moroccan Jews, Chinese, Iranians, Iraqis, and East Indians. That Black doesn't exist before a global consensus that Africa is a place of slaves. What exists before Black is Ashanti, Buganda, Maasai, Kikuyu, okay?
Nice.
So what we have argued is that Black is essentially a paradigm, just like worker is not a cultural position. Worker is a paradigm. There are workers who speak Spanish. There are workers who speak Swedish. There are workers who are gay. There are workers who are straight. Those are cultural identities. And we're arguing, okay, y'all don't like that? Show us Black before social death. Just show us. Just show us. Because you know what? I'd like to go away somewhere to the Mediterranean and be a poet and study oceanography. I don't want to do this shit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I wanna ask you a question concerning what he said as far as picking cotton, and I want to say this:
he mentioned
the money that we have in our pockets right now, the money we have is 75% cotton and 25% rayon. So in essence, we are all picking cotton right now.
Okay, you mean that's the fibers in money?
In the money, yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
for those of us who actually carry cash, I rarely do. So
I
I'm
mean,
not.
it doesn't matter, but it's
I'm
still
not
at the
picking
same
cotton.
time.
I'm not picking cotton. I'm holding plastic.
You're picking cotton.
No,
You
I'm
call
not.
it holding plastic.
No, I'm
You
not.
call it holding plastic or whatever, but cash rules. Cash rules,
Does it?
and that cash that we carry around in our pockets is 75% cotton and 25% rayon. So we
Okay, well
all are in
let's just
essence
go.
still picking cotton,
Let's just
and we
go
are
with
slaves to the
let's just
system.
go. Let's just go with what you're saying here. Why are you saying it? What is the point of saying
Because
it?
we are all slaves to the system,
Okay, so
whether we want to admit it or not.
you're trying to basically establish a commonality
No,
based
I'm not trying to
based
establish a
on
commonality. I'm trying to tell you that we are all slaves in this system.
okay, and I'm gonna tell you I don't give a
Whether
shit.
you want to acknowledge it or not, Stanley, you
No,
and you are more
well,
of a
allow
slave.
me
You
to
are more of a
respond,
slave in
sir.
the system than a lot of us
Allow me
because
to
you've been in the
respond.
military. You've been in the
Allow
military
me
and you are
to
indoctrinated.
respond.
So you don't
Let
like
me
to
tell
deal
you
with
why I
people.
don't give a
You don't
shit.
like to deal with civilians
Can I
on a
tell you
civilian
why I
level.
don't give a
You
shit?
try to deal with civilians on a military
Oh, for
level,
God's sake.
and that shit does not work because
You know,
civilians
I
don't give a
might just
fuck
give up
about you
drinking.
being
It's
in the
very
military.
unattractive.
Period. The military don't give a fuck about you being in the military. If they did, you would have to fight for your rights and to get medical attention as a veteran as you have to. And me as a person, I feel like anybody that's been in the military, whatever branch, whatever service, they should have to fight to get medical or whatever housing or whatever, because they put their time in, regardless of how much it is, or regardless. I'm a firm believer in, hey man, y'all said y'all was fighting for the country, but at the same time, y'all was killing motherfuckers. Y'all was killing
Gotcha.
motherfuckers and saying it was your job.
Okay, let me respond right quick. Nothing you said is relevant to what we're watching now.
It is very relevant.
How so?
It's very relevant. You
How
may not
so?
think it's relevant, but it's very relevant.
How
Just
so?
say you don't think it's relevant.
Enlighten me.
Just say you don't think it's relevant.
I
There's no
want
need
to
to tell
be.
me
I
enlighten
want
you,
to be
because
on the
Stanley's
same.
gonna think.
I want to
Stanley's
be
gonna
on the
think
same
what
page
Stanley
as you.
fucking thinks, and it's gonna be what Stanley fucking wants it to be.
Well,
So
it's
there's
I.
no need in me trying to prove
Hold
nothing
on.
to Stanley.
Who
Period.
else do you think I'm representing here?
You're representing Stanley. You're not
Okay,
representing
so of
everybody.
course that's
You
of course
represent
it's my
Stanley.
of course it's my opinion and it's what I think. I'm not
Yeah,
representing anybody
and
else.
your opinion is fact to you. Your
That is
opinion
de
is fact to you.
facto. De
Yeah,
facto.
because you tell people all the time, motherfucker, I don't give a fuck.
I
So
don't.
what we say,
I literally just
anybody
said
else's
that a
opinion
couple
doesn't
minutes
matter
ago.
when it comes to Stanley.
Okay. Well, Stanley thinks what you said is not relevant. Can we
I
move
already
on?
said that, Stanley. I just got through saying that, Stanley.
Stanley, may I cut in real quick?
Oh, please do.
I was going to ask the same question that you're asking, Tyrone. How is it relevant? Because to me, it sounds like what EAE said. It sounds like sophisticated philosophical trauma bonding. I don't understand it.
Maybe that's what it is.
And this is Warren, right?
Yes, Juan.
Okay.
Essentially what it is Wilderson has written a book called Afro-Pessimism, and he's explaining it to Jared Ball. So we're all learning about it, but essentially, the long and short, from what I can gather, is he's basically saying, "Hey, black people, stop giving a fuck what white people think."
But I don't give a fuck what white people think.
Okay, because I'm
That's
looking,
why what
and
B
this is
I
Brave,
me
never
looking.
thought.
that's why what
I
B
never
Brave talk
thought
about
you
is
did.
funny to me. It's funny to me. That's why
Good,
I laugh at the shit. I don't get
awesome.
upset about the shit.
So, Juan, what do you think?
Well, that's where I'm confused, because again, Stanley, this is just me looking at this on the fly. This is the first time hearing
Gotcha.
I guess Africanism or something,
Afro
Afro-pessimism. I'm sorry, and from
Afro-pessimism.
what I'm seeing,
Well, we're 34 minutes
right.
in.
And so again, this is me looking at it on
The
the
link
fly, but
is in the
from
back
what I'm
if you
seeing,
want to.
it's in the 80s that basically. Yeah, most definitely, because I'm looking through the stuff that I'm seeing right now, and from what I'm seeing, it's just it's basically, from what I'm getting, I don't know how to explain it other than black nihilism. Okay, everything in Africa is
No,
useless.
it's not
There's
not
no use in
exactly
explaining
that.
why it's useless, but it is.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and preface it
Okay,
so we all know where I stand on this. I'm interested in it and I'm going to watch it.
go ahead.
Everybody, I'm not holding
Oh
anybody
no, I'm
hostage.
interested in it as well. That's why I was asking.
However, essentially what it is, and Wilderson's been around for quite some time. I'm vaguely familiar with his work, so I have a little bit of a head start. But essentially, what he's saying is black people really need to start thinking for themselves. They need to be themselves. They need to stop being white centric. They need to look at themselves. They need to develop themselves. They need to do what is good for themselves. And in some ways, it's very conservative. It's kind of a conservative position because it's saying, hey, you know what? Don't let white people slow you down. Don't let this argument over DEI slow you down. That's a white problem. If Trump has a problem with DEI, that's his problem. He's fixing it. Good for him. Let's stop protesting it. Let's move on. Let's do what we need to do to be successful. We don't need DEI. Fuck them.
Agreed.
We never needed
can you
DEI,
repost the link, Stanley? Because
We
Well,
never
that
see it in the
benefited
background.
from
probably
DEI
right
or
about that,
civil rights.
Tyrone. You're probably right about that.
We never benefited from either one of those, civil rights
I'm
or
not going to
DEI
go that far.
or affirmative
I'm
action.
sure. I'm sure there are people who needed it, but quite frankly, me and my son didn't need shit to get in other than good grades.
Stanley, we're not talking about your son, Stanley.
Oh well, motherfucker! I brought him up as
Well,
an example.
motherfucker, we're not talking about your fucking son.
You know what? You're
It's
not
other
going to be
people
talking at
besides your
all if you
fucking
piss
son.
me off.
Just because Stanley
Yes.
provided a better
You know,
outcome for his
how much have
son
you had to
than
drink,
other
Tyrone?
people, don't negate
Tyrone.
other people, Stanley. Don't do
Tyrone.
that. Don't
How
do
much
that,
have
Stanley.
you had so far?
I ain't had nothing, Stanley. Yeah,
Really?
I'm about to
Holy
get something.
This
I'm
is
about
you.
to get something.
This is you sober?
Yeah, I'm sober
God
right
damn,
now, but I'm about to get
you're a
something. I got some
you're a
about age,
handful.
and I'm about to take me 2 shots, and we gonna talk.
bottom line, and I'm just getting into it. I kind of know a little bit about it, but it's like reading a blurb on a book. But basically, and I actually do believe, and this is kind of PTSD from a conversation I had with Solid Snake last night that was quite disturbing to me, frankly. Basically, he still thinks that black people, it's like some moral suasion politics sort of thing. Black people need to do the straight and narrow because we need to care what white people think. We want white people to think well of black people. And hey, we in a be brave world need to go, and the 70% need to go and deal with the 3% for white people, so white people will think better of us. So Be Brave won't think that 70% of the black population in America is making excuses for crime. We need to think about what the Be Braves of America think about
I
us.
don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what a be brave.
I'm
This is
trying
what I
to
care about,
explain.
Stanley. This is
I'm
what I
just,
care about, Stanley.
I'm just
Can I ask you a
trying
question?
I'm just trying to explain,
Yeah, I want to
what
ask
I
you a question
understand.
though. I have a question to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have black people that are millionaires, multimillionaires. We have a few billionaire black people. My question to you is this, Stanley: Why why do these people not come together and make something for us as a people?
Okay. Why should they have to?
Because every other race does that, Stanley. Every other
Okay.
ethnicity does that, Stanley.
Two things about that. That is myth. Okay.
It's not the myth, Stanley. It's not the myth.
White people are not helping the Be Braves of the world. Be Brave actually thinks that Be Brave is helping himself.
White
And that
people are helping to be
God
brave
damn it,
because of white privilege. Because
Tyrone,
of white
you need
privilege,
to,
Stanley. That's how they help be brave.
Tyrone, you need to chill out.
Stanley, come on, Stanley, man. We all know that this is the white man's world.
Okay, to answer your question, billionaires don't have to do shit. Okay, and the
I just
myth
asked a
of
question,
all
man.
the
If you
other,
don't want
the
to answer
myth,
that question, then
the
so be
myth
it. I
of
just
all
asked a
the
simple
other
question.
races, the myth of all the other races getting together and forming a cabal, that might be true maybe at a neighborhood level, but white people in America don't have a national policy to help just white people. If they're banding together, it is more at a local level than it is anything else. It's not a national project.
That's so fucked up, man. Because unity is where it's at. The
And
Migos do it, the Asians do it, the
Afro-pessimism,
Jews do it, the Arabs do it. Everybody's doing it but us.
Damn,
Everybody's doing it but us. And we seem to
Afro
think that there's something wrong with
Afro-pessimism disagrees. We need to stop that.
McDonald's and they done fucked
You
your
need
order up.
you need to stop wanting black billionaires to come and
Save you.
we need to stop depending on or wanting black billionaires to come and save us. We
Yeah.
need to save ourselves.
And you know, Stanley, I think we confuse institution building and system building
That's
as
good.
white people supporting one another. It's honestly
It's
practicing what
not.
our level
Okay,
of
that's
They
brilliant.
practice
That is
nepotism.
hey, thank you, Universal. Perfect.
Black people
That was
don't practice
perfect.
nepotism. We think there's something wrong with nepotism,
Black
but white
people
people
do
do it every
practice
day.
two white
Asians
people,
do it every day.
What are you
Arabs
two
talking
white
do it every day.
people.
Every Mexicans, every other ethnicity
That's not
practice
nepotism.
nepotism, but us. We think
Okay,
something is wrong
see,
with practicing nepotism.
fundamentally not
That's not.
understanding what
See, this is the
nepotism
That's not
is.
idolatry,
nepotism.
and
I know what nepotism is.
I don't
And
think you do.
we frown upon it. We frown upon it. A lot
Okay,
of black
let me
people feel
give
like
you
their
let me
children
give
should
you just
struggle.
one
Their
little
children should struggle.
anecdotal.
And niggas was talking.
Okay, goddamn, dude.
Oh man, good lord, man.
All I have to say, just
oh,
one
classic.
little anecdote. That plumber I told y'all about, black plumber. I will go to him forever. I will never call anyone other than him for plumbing. Training his nephew basically as an apprentice.
As he should.
Yeah, that's nepotism. He could
Right.
he could get somebody else.
But two
Exactly.
random white people, let's say they went to the same college, or maybe they're just from the
You
same
got it,
town.
son.
If that white person hires a person just because they have some connection, or maybe they don't, shit, that's not nepotism. It
That
might
is
be
No, it's not.
nepotism.
preference.
That is
Well, I
nepotism.
don't know.
No, it's
Let me
not.
look it up because I thought, like, say you're both Columbia. Let me give you a good example, and y'all are gonna love this shit. When I graduated from college, I interviewed with Merck to be like a
See,
pharmaceutical rep.
I guess associates.
Uh-huh.
So they flew me up from Savannah to Memphis, and it was like a multi-tiered interview. It was an all-day interview process. Well, excuse me. Lo and behold, I get to the top floor, final interview, and guess what? The guy who was like the final say-so, he looked down at my resume and he went, "Well, you went to Benedictine Military School." I'm like, "Yes, I did." "Hey, my son went to Benedictine Military School." "Oh, what's your son's name?" We didn't even talk about the job. We talked about Benedictine football.
Yeah, the connection.
And
The
I got
connection,
hired.
exactly.
And I got hired.
Yeah, and you know,
So it
this
doesn't
is,
happen too often, at least that I know of. But, to me, that was nepotism.
and I wouldn't even say that's even nepotism, Stan. I think that there may be a slight preference because of the connection, and there was a network built there. That's not, to me, that's not nepotism.
That's not
When
nepotism.
you're hiring a family
I could
member,
be getting the definition wrong.
a close friend.
So LeBron and Bronny James wasn't nepotism.
That is nepotism.
That is nepotism.
That
That's
is
his
nepotism.
son. That's his son. And
Okay, so it's got to be specifically relatives.
So Dion,
close friends.
Shiloh, Shador, and Travis Hunter is not nepotism.
I
Not
don't
Travis
think
Hunter.
these are good examples because
No,
Dion,
they're not
other
good
dynamics
examples.
here.
Dion is dictating the outcome
I'm sorry,
of where
Mom.
those boys play
How
at.
you just said black
So
people
that's
don't do it, but you gave
nepotism.
two black examples, so I'm
That's
confused.
nepotism.
Yeah, and it's
White people
sports.
practice nepotism all the time. Why can't black people do it?
They can.
Because that's
Well, it's
not, they can, but that's not, real quick, if I can cut in, that's not nepotism, Tyrone. If nepotism would be, for example, I get hired by the Cochran Law Firm in Houston, and my kid, after graduating from Texas A&M, goes to law school, and my kid, because of me, because I put in a good word, and because I slide a nice little donation, she gets in, and within 6 months, she's partner. That's nepotism. What you're talking about, that doesn't even come close. In fact, what you're talking about, that's what we do. Let me finish, sir. Let me finish.
My son is not gonna play for the
Tyrone,
Giants. My
let
son
me
is not gonna
finish,
play
sir.
for the Giants.
Why?
He's dictating like Archie Manning did with his sons, Eli and Peyton. That was nepotism. I know
That's
what
not nepotism
is.
because they
You
didn't.
might
Archie Manning.
not want to call that nepotism, but it is.
It's not. It's not.
If you can dictate where your sons are going to play football, that's nepotism.
He didn't dictate where his sons played ball.
NBA because LeBron was at the Lakers. He went to the Lakers and then he dropped down to a smaller league, but he still is on the Laker rostrum. That's nepotism.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He got dropped to. Let me finish.
You're right.
It's not.
You got it. You got it. That's not nepotism.
You do too. No, it's not because for starters,
You got it.
LeBron didn't put in a word for Bronny. That's the big difference. And number two, Archie Manning didn't.
Bronny started playing with who? Who was Bronny? What team was Bronny on when he got there? The
Not
Lakers.
because of LeBron. LeBron didn't say my son.
How was
it was not, sir. If I could finish, if you would,
it wasn't because of his talent.
If you would let me finish, I would be able to explain that, Tyrone. It's because his daddy, LeBron, did not put in the word. Now the Lakers thought it was good marketing strategy, but LeBron sure as hell did not. He didn't. Nor did Archie Manning put in a word for his sons. That's the difference.
None of them put no word in. Okay.
No, they didn't.
Hey, by the way, did y'all hear Eli missed the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I saw that.
He'll get in. I think he'll get in.
Oh, really?
No, it'll be next year probably. But the NFL lost so much reputation right now. Nobody's going to give a shit when he does get inducted. I'll be quite honest. Stanley, it's so bad that the Super Bowl tickets have decreased such that you and I could afford to go.
Really? It's really that bad?
Yes.
Wow.
It's really that bad.
Shit, maybe I should have went to the Super Bowl this weekend. I thought I might still be able to make it. It ain't too late.
Hey, let me ask Universal, what do you make of this one? When Universal speaks of Black people that use white supremacy as a coping mechanism, this is an example of what he's talking about. How so?
When Universal speaks of Black people using white supremacy as coping mechanisms, I'm not sure what the point. I'm not sure the connection point there.
Well, he's basically saying that what we're doing, or I'm doing specifically, is coping with using white supremacy as a coping mechanism. I literally said I don't even want to talk about white people.
I mean, yeah, we were definitely having this conversation, not really talking directly about white people, but how Black folks should be thinking.
Exactly.
But see, that's the idolatry that I was talking about before, Stanley. We can't even fucking get through an hour of thinking without bringing white people into the equation. Now, yes, we are talking about existing in a world where racism is present, but we can have that conversation without comparing how white people do things. It actually doesn't even matter with the conversation that we're having.
Exactly.
Well, there would be a difference between talking about how white people do things, so to speak, and how systems are set up, which, I mean, here in the United States, the majority of our systems are set up by white people from 400 years ago and less, but there's a difference. I'm not talking about the white guy. I'm just talking about how the system is, if that makes any sense.
Right. And technically, the system's supposed to be colorblind.
Right. And
exactly.
This goes back to the dialogue earlier today on the channel where we talked about other ethnicities coming here and building systems that work within the society. It's not that they're trying to be quote unquote white. They're just using the tools that work in this environment.
Right.
Black folks are not using the tools well. We're complaining about the system instead of getting to work. That is the issue. There's nothing stopping any Black child from going from K to 12, working hard, and graduating high school. We shouldn't have any damn dropouts or any kids that have to go to high school until they're 23 years old. There's nothing stopping a kid from fucking graduating high school. But
exactly. How the hell are you 20 years old and in the 10th grade? Make that make sense, right?
Especially how easy they've made it. There's no excuse outside of parenting and culture. Like we have to stop. I don't want to hear about white supremacy in schools anymore. I don't want to hear that shit. Sit your ass down and learn.
Right. Hey,
Universal, real quick, you know what that did? What you did, you just gave an eloquent statement of don't hate the player, hate the game. I like that. That was beautiful, sir.
Literally.
well, I think basically it's don't hate the player, play the game.
That's right. Learn the fucking rules so you can win.
Exactly. I agree.
Let me make a mission statement here, or a mini mission statement. Stewart says Western supremacy is more than white people, and social local Jimmy says DEI is patronizing. Well, ordinarily, I would address the white supremacy. I'm sorry, the Western supremacy thing, and I would address the DEI thing. But that's white people's problems. We're talking about something different. So,
I got the link, by the way, Stanley. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. I don't want to talk about DEI. It's not relevant to this video. I don't want to talk about Western supremacy. Tangentially may be relevant to this. So let's see. Even now, most people process worldview. No, Stuart. Now I'm an anachronism. Okay, if I had to be all fancy and I wanted to make myself seem important, I would call myself a domestic policy expert or analyst, at least. I don't really care about worldviews unless I have to. And even then, it's probably because I need some tool or some idea to help with the domestic policy. I am limited. I'm obtuse, whatever you want to call it. I just don't care that much about globalism. It's important. I'm not diminishing the importance. I'm just saying I'm not that guy.
Stanley, are you familiar with Stewart's channel?
No.
You should check. You might find some things on his channel that might be good to review.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, check out Stewart, and everybody go ahead and subscribe. Stewart, if you can put the link in the chat, either mine or yours, I'll try to highlight it for folks.
Okay, well, good to know. Well, since he's a friend of yours, I understand that culture is more than people, but it kind of isn't. The people, this, in my opinion, and this isn't an original idea, culture is basically the software. People are kind of the hardware. It is the code that kind of allows people to interact with each other in a structured manner. Customs, all that stuff. So I understand it's not just white people, but it mostly is. It's white people that, just so happens that it's European more or less. And by accident of nature, it happens that way. So let's get back to this. Where'd Tyrone go? I miss him.
Okay, but there's an essential dynamic of suffering, which is not only our suffering, but it is necessary for everybody else to formulate who they are. And that's what I was saying anecdotally with the Palestinian. He's grieving about a cat who is his cousin, who's making a bomb in a basement in Ramallah. I'm grieving next to him because I'm down with that cause. It's 1988. There's no Afro-Pessimism. I'm just a straight up head internationalist Marxist, right? And all of a sudden, he starts telling stories about Israeli occupation. And he says, it is so humiliating to get at a checkpoint and they just run their hands over you, and they run their hands, his words, over our women, right? Okay, and I'm like, yeah, right on. He says, but you know what the most humiliating thing is? When an Ethiopian Jew runs his hands over you. Okay, that says to me, it is a symptomatic truth that in the collective unconscious of everyone in the world, the Black exists as a threat. That's just, I can prove that.
So why do you think he was saying that to you, though?
He wasn't saying it to me. He was saying it to the sky. He was. What I'm trying to say is that he was in a condition of crying, grieving. We were sitting on a hill overlooking downtown Minneapolis, and he was speaking out. I didn't have to be there. It was a psychoanalytic moment. It was the force of his. If he was looking at me and conversing with me, he would not have said that.
See, but this is where I personally, and I think beyond, me, keep running into issues. So when I read your work and I'm sitting and I'm reading Afro-Pessimism, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm not finding, whatever I might disagree with, I don't even know exactly how I would phrase it or what it would be, but it would certainly not be in sort of not recognizing the stories that you share, for instance. In other words, when you lay out those stories, they're reminiscent of so many of my own. I'm sure anybody else's, any number of other Black people would have experienced versions of this. And I'm gonna get to the mixed question before we leave. Don't worry, I'm gonna get to that. But for instance, I got into an argument in an email chain where it was presented to a group of Black radicals, your recent article in The Nation magazine, and where you outline sort of what you say in Afro-Pessimism is what you call the meta theory, the critical project, by deploying Blackness as a lens of interpretation, which interrogates the unspoken assumptive logic of Marxism, post-colonialism, psychoanalysis, and feminism through rigorous theoretical consideration of their properties and assumptive logic, et cetera, and so forth. My point is you put that on display in that Nation article. And one of the things that, and as I said, I think to you in an email, was that the first thing that, not that I disagree with anything you said in the article, other than that it was in the Nation, and that this is part of the what is used in the criticism of your work in some circles. So, for instance, as I was saying a moment ago about George Soros wouldn't pick, a Black Marxist, a Marxist-Leninist, Black liberation, text to distribute. The Nation magazine isn't publishing many overtly radical, Black Marxists and militants of that nature. Medea Benjamin isn't hanging out with a lot of these same folks either. So when your name and work comes up in association with these spaces, it seems, on some level, people would say, and this is where I wanted to go with this next question, is that as a stereotypically traditional, or coming out of the stereotypical traditional lineage of cultural nationalism and race-first analysis, wouldn't it be easier, and isn't it often easier for white liberals in particular to associate themselves with that than anything Black and radically materialist? So in other words, what I also think is just a criticism of your work that goes unsaid is that you're offering what for many is, simply put, a race-first analysis that many people don't think is expansive enough or radical enough. Anyway, please respond to any of that, if you would.
I don't know. What do people want me to be? Slothful and hand out leaflets on the fucking corner? I mean,
what I think they would want to say is,
yeah, he says he's got a little sense of humor there. Hey, everybody in the chat, please make sure you hit the like button, and if you're new, share. Subscribe and then share the wealth. Tropes. To be honest with you, I'm kind of, just getting into it. And I still need to read the book. However, I would actually say that I don't know that Afro-Pessimism speaks to any of the stuff you mentioned. I'm sure it cares about causes and all that stuff. But my impression is that it's not wanting to go back and rehash the history we already know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it gives you, it's more about what to do with what we've already experienced. Yep, all that's true. We're here now. here's a pathway forward.
And it's beautiful meeting the situation where it is. Let's not go back and rehash the causes. We kind of know the causes. Even if some of them are debatable, let's not get bogged down. Let's just keep moving forward. And I'm sure I'll probably have to go back and backtrack some ground, but I'm not getting the impression that we're talking about 1619 much.
Shouldn't we all acknowledge when even if it's not our intent, that our work is being recognized, appreciated, or even misused by people who would be well funded and be in position to well fund us? Shouldn't we be critical of that?
I am. I have been. I continue to be. I mean, look, I operate in a vertically integrated range of spaces. I operate in Research One institutions, and like I put to before, I operate in community centers in the inner city. Incognito, was slated for a $50,000 advance in 2006 by Simon & Schuster, and the publisher just came down to the editorial room within hours of them supposed to fax me the contract and said, I haven't been down here in 30 years, but I'm telling you, you're not publishing this book. I'm not giving you a reason why. HarperCollins was going to give me $35,000. And the sales force came the day that we were supposed to do the deal and said, we're not bringing this shit to our buyers at Barnes and Noble. At Beacon Press, they said, take out all the shit dealing with white women and we'll publish this, for $7,500. Then it went dormant for 2 years because I had spent the advance from Beacon, and then South End Press, which had become black through Asha Tal and Jocelyn Burrell, they published it, and they said, we can only give you, we only give $1,500 to like Bell Hooks and Noam Chomsky. We give you $500 for this. I said, we got a bigger problem. I don't own my book.
Bargaining to the bottom or what?
Okay?
Who's gonna give him the least advance?
To Beacon before, and they paid, those black women paid the money, and they upped it to $1,500. And I hit the phones for 3 months in the spring of 2008, and I would, for my stockbrokers, I would dial 100 bookshops a day, get 30 contacts, make 3 deals, and I got a book tour, and then Jocelyn Burrell put in $4,000 for me to come to New York, and that's partly how that whole thing, the East Coast, How I Met You. So what I'm trying to say is that I am not a darling of the establishment, okay? It's largely because Afro-Pessimism has taken off in the Black community. What people don't see is that from 2006 until 2018, this was largely an underground movement where we were working only in Black spaces. It's only now, with the death of George Floyd, which came 2 years after I got the contract, and the fact that Afro-Pessimism picked up as a trade book, that all these people who forgot, these terrains who forgot how they treated me in the past are coming back. So I really think that that's an unsophisticated critique, that somehow I live in these rarefied spaces and where I'm eating caviar with the heads of state and publishing houses. It's just, I'm vertically integrated in my interactions, and I've suffered a lot and had to claw my way to where I'm at. And I make no apologies for that.
No, right on. Fair enough. So what is the biggest thing that I struggle with in Afro-Pessimism is this master slave piece. Like how, never mind, you're criticized for your wife, I'm criticized for my mother. Never mind all of these relationships that we have,
You know what that means.
willfully or not, with white folks. How is it that this master slave thing is so
Can't do
permanent?
that
And
in
then how
racial
can you
idolatry.
engage on any level with white folks
Right.
if from your understanding and their perspective, all we can ever be is enslaved or a slave?
Well, I don't. The last question is a question that haunts me day and night, but I refuse to answer it, because if I answered it, I would be, having said that. And now I'm going to get a little theoretical, which goes back to the other work. What constitutes a relational dynamic? And the essence of what constitutes a relational dynamic.
Hey, by the way, Universal, just so you know, you may already know this. Jared Ball's father was like a 60s black radical, like relatively kind of well known. His mother was Jewish, so this black radical married some Jewish girl. So so he had kind
I
of
wasn't around. No, I didn't know that, but I wasn't around during that time. But come on, just think about it. College age students rallying at that time, SNCC, all that stuff. You don't think that they weren't some interracial dating and shit going on?
Oh,
Hell
Well, yeah,
yeah.
most definitely.
That's what a lot of it was about. We can date these white women
Universal.
out in public. Like, let's do this.
Universal, they had to ban it. They literally, like during Freedom Summer, they literally had to sit everybody down and go, "Hey,
stop
you
fucking." Yes,
you're hurting the cause.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and play. I thought that was an interesting thing, though.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And as quiet as it's kept, a lot of Black Panthers were dealing with white women too.
Yeah.
Okay, and so to be able to form relations is to not be Black. That doesn't mean that Black people don't desire relations.
Okay, wait, hold on.
With Jared Sexton, who actually
really Virgo, really?
Really?
Do we really need to know all of that?
Well, I'm telling you why I'm jumping off, and I will see you guys.
Are you telling
later.
us that you would like us to fantasize, or?
Oh, whoa.
I did not say all of that.
I don't think that's the case. I think what it is she's explaining why there was an earthquake in the Caribbean just now, and why there's a tsunami warning from South Florida all the way to the Bay of Campeche in Mexico right now as we speak.
You're about to take a real bubble bath.
Yeah, I got myself some Dr. Teal's. I'm being serious. I got myself some Dr.
When
Teal's.
I read this, your voice engaged. I'm going to take a bubble bath with candles.
And wine.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Candles and wine. And I'm going to read.
How about, hey, I'm dropping out.
Book.
That's all we need to know.
Well, I would like to talk about this book at another time. I know religion is not your thing.
Anytime you want to talk about a book, I'm game.
Oh, okay.
Apocryphal Master Collection.
Yeah. Do you know?
Anytime.
That's all that's the code. That's the 18 texts that was rejected from the Bible.
Ah. And you're gonna drink wine while you read it. Gotcha.
Well, didn't Jesus turn water into wine?
Hey, Juan, your volume's not working for some reason. I don't have a response to that. You go sip your wine.
I also have the Gnostic.
Now is it gonna be red wine? Is it a Cabernet Sauvignon? Is it gonna be white? Is it gonna be a Riesling? It
is
Pinot Noir.
Grigio.
Pinot Grigio.
Ah, Pinot Grigio. All right.
White or red?
White.
Isn't it white?
No. They make a red Pinot Grigio.
No, they make a Pinot Noir. That is the red.
I've heard of Pinot Noir. I've never heard of Pinot Grigio red.
See, I'm not that big a wine guy.
Oh yes, I am a wine connoisseur.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, Virgo, is Are the books that you're reading, does it have the book of the Quella? I think it is. It was one of those lost books that wasn't approved in the Bible. They call it the book of Q.
Hold on, let me thumb
The
through
book
it real
of
quick.
Q?
I don't think I'll read the whole book, but I'm gonna read read
Well, it was
a couple.
I think it was called the Quella, Quella. But some books called it Q, the book of Q. One of the
No, but
lost
I
gospels.
do have Ptolemy's letter on the Jews' behalf. And I have the Gnostic Gospels as well, and the Book of Enoch. Oh, this one sounds interesting. It is the rejected Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
Who rejected it?
I don't know. I will find out. This looks very interesting. All right, I got to do my setup.
Stewart says, funny how so many establishment black radicals marry white. Why? What's funny about it?
It's more common than you think, and most black people don't even know who a lot of these black liberation type leaders are. They work in predominantly white environments. They
Let's
get
face
invited.
Yes, they do.
Who was this?
They get
Was this
invited.
a jab at anybody in particular?
No,
I don't think so. It's just
Not
a
really.
discussion.
Hmm.
are you a black? I don't think that was a jab. Are you saying that was a jab at you?
Are you a black radical?
Yeah, I don't think you're a black radical. I wouldn't
Yeah, I was going to say I don't see you as a black radical. This guy just said a moment ago that he's a Marxist. I mean, the majority of us up here are not. So
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
damn. Hello,
that's
T.
gonna be the dividing line. You know,
I'm in here gracing us with all that beauty. Good evening.
What's up, or how y'all doing?
pretty good. T, how you doing?
Good.
Oh, well, see, now I can't even go because T's up here. Hey, T.
Hey,
Oh,
right,
actually, you
girl.
can go.
Shut up, Stanley.
Dismissed.
Oh, Jesus.
I was the
Hey,
only
T, how are you doing?
estrogen on here, T.
I'm good. How y'all doing?
No disrespect, but your hair looks beautiful tonight. No disrespect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, well, let me see. I can't see with this
There's nothing
phone.
wrong with
Oh,
complimenting.
oh my God,
It's
yes.
great.
Did you change the color?
Yeah, it's like a brown blonde thing happening. Yeah, something.
Like a bronze blonde.
Yeah, it's something going on over here.
Yeah,
I like it. I
it's
like
giving.
it. Looks
It's
pretty
giving.
on you.
It's giving. I'm
Yeah.
rocking with it.
It's giving.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's giving.
Here goes
I'm not flirting with
Universal.
you. I'm not
Okay.
flirting with you. It just looks
Clarence
good.
wants to know if you're a Gnostic.
No, Clarice, I'm actually a Christian, but
She wants to be a Gnostic.
I'm just interested in reading everything,
Bob says hi, T.
Hey, Bob. What's going on, my favorite pilot?
And Young Blessed 18 says T definitely enhances the show.
Oh, that's sweet. That's
Now,
sweet.
enhances it how?
You're too kind.
Makes it more watchable. At the very least.
Be nice. Be nice.
Oh no! Hey, you know what? I am perfectly sober. I'm not
No,
even.
I'm saying be nice.
Well,
Me?
you missed it
I
yesterday,
am
T.
being
Chris
nice.
Reed was really nice.
Oh, okay. I thought you were throwing a little shade there.
Who,
But okay.
me?
Oh, I am throwing shade.
No, I'm talking about Stanley. Usually
No,
Oh,
Stanley's
okay.
actually, it was just a joke.
Okay, all right. Okay. Sorry, maybe I'm a little
Not
sensitive right now.
Chris Reed was a little
Gnosticism.
too nice last night.
Well, he was hitting on you guys something different yesterday.
Oh,
Or
he
what?
said something really out of pocket.
Is that what
Very
you were
out of
calling
pocket.
nice? Ooh.
I was being sarcastic, Stanley.
Oh, okay. Man, it curled my hair.
Yeah, I never would expect that from
And
Chris Reed.
I wasn't involved, and I'm a sailor. It's like
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Put it like this, Stanley. I've never heard that kind of talk working at a car dealership with all these men.
That's crazy. I thought about selling cars once, but I don't know if I can do the heat in Texas, and it's just
I don't know.
it's a lot of work.
A salesman is very that job is very hard. I could never be in sales, to be honest with you.
I suck at sales. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing, T. I think you'd be great at it because I tell you what, a pretty woman selling a car, you would make so much money.
You definitely enhance the sales department.
But the hours are gruesome.
I don't know if I could deal with that type of labor. That's a lot of work.
No, what you really mean is, you know what? These people are trifling, and you just don't want to have to deal with them.
Yeah,
that's true.
And it depends on the brand too. Like, if you work for like people that buy Mercedes and BMWs, they're not gonna haggle you. They're coming in there with their money in their pocket and they're ready to buy. Just give me the car. Now if you're at a used car lot, or a Kia.
Right. They're trying to get all kinds of bargains and yeah.
Yeah, I work for Honda and the salesmen there make pretty good. And they have a good pay plan too. So
that's cool.
The customers
they get on my nerves.
All right, well, let's get back to Mr. or Dr. Wilderson.
Yeah, had he not asked the question, what if we looked at the essential antagonism through anti-Blackness in 99, 2000, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, he asked that question in a reading group. It doesn't mean that in the other parts of the Black psyche, there's not a desire to be a relational being. There's not a desire to have violence and aggression fomented against us for contingencies, for reasons. One desires all of that. What we're saying is that if that were possible for Black people, then it would not be possible for anybody else. To know who I am in the world as a human being, I have to know that I am not Black. That is a basic extension of a analytic that undergirds psychoanalysis, which is called semiotics. I won't get all into it, but it suggests that words and concepts do not have organic relationships to the thing. If I say to my students, what is this? And they say, this is a book. And I say, okay, now book me for a climb.
My goodness.
And they throw it at me, then they would not be able to cross the bar of metaphor. In other words, words are constantly sliding, and the only way they get meaning, the only way one gets meaning in one's life is in contradistinction to someone else. The key part here is that the N word and the Black body has no transformative capacity. Now, this is a controversial point.
Oh,
and we're not going to have a way of backing it up in
the
time that we have. But the transformational capacity of Blackness.
Bob?
Yes.
I'm sure this is suitably comical for you, right?
Okay. Now, see, I wasn't even. I'm just trying. Moose, stop. I'm just trying to wonder how y'all listening to this and not laughing.
Because it's interesting.
Say more.
I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to say, Bob. That's why.
Guys, let's just stop for a second. Let's stop with the intellectual bullcrap and let's just listen to the presentation. Now he is angry.
But actually, he's not.
He is.
I've been watching this for 47 minutes and I haven't gotten that impression at all.
He's disappointed. Can we use that word?
Wouldn't even say that.
All right. His emotions are generally on the negative side. He's having difficulty expressing himself.
I don't think you're going to pass the empath bar exam.
No, I suppose I wouldn't. I'm just struck by how all of you are keeping composure. And
no, actually, I'm kind of into philosophy and stuff like that. This, I guess, would kind of come under the heading of philosophy of race. Just to catch you up right quick, and it's something that I just kind of, it came up in a conversation I had with Universal, and we're both kind of interested in it, and kind of exploring it. But the one thing, again, that it kind of suits my personality almost. Essentially, he's saying we need to stop caring what white people think and get about our business. We know what America is. We know what the past is. We need to just get on with it.
I like that, honestly.
Yeah, I suppose if I could give a retort.
Sure.
What's the we part? Does we include me? I was
No.
never.
Well, let's just say Black Americans with roots that go deeper than 1964 in America. I mean.
Okay, so it's a generational Black person.
No. Basically, the term is FBA or ADOS. Not say second generation. Well, I mean, it could apply, but I think his audience is mostly people like me. My lineage goes back a ways. So foundational Black Americans, American descendants of slavery, that sort of thing. We need to basically stop caring so much about the white gaze. And, and it resonates with me because a conversation I had with Solid Snake last night, where I basically said, we need to get past famous Black people, for instance, don't represent the race. Why would anybody think that in 2025? Maybe back in the day in the 1950s or something. But George Floyd, for instance, he doesn't represent Black people, in the main. Why would we be so wrapped around the axle either way? If you basically want to say that George Floyd was kind of like a not a credit to the race, or crime in the inner city, like Be Brave thinks crime in the inner city reflects on all Black people. 70% of Black people make excuses for the 3% committing the crime in the inner city. Well, my pushback is what happens in the inner city isn't a reflection on me. I've never lived there, don't know anybody there currently. Why would it be a reflection on me? And why would it be on me to go and criticize or police it? Or, I'm not my brother's keeper. Black people need to be a bit more individualistic.
Individualists.
The argument that, other races, why can't Black people pull together and be like the other races and, all that stuff? Well, to Universal makes a good point. These people built the institutions. It looks like nepotism. It looks like they've got each other's back, but it's really institutions. Black people in 2025 have access to the same institutions.
Right.
Why are we not using them?
And culturally, we have not built well, that's not true. We just don't build institutions as we should in a society. And
right.
And to look at other ethnic groups come here who have more recent quote unquote traumas than we do, be able to come here and benefit from the system, it really makes us racially look bad.
Because you know what? It doesn't even do that. Who bad to who? Hopefully bad to ourselves, because I don't care if we look bad to. We need to do better, but it's not because other people look down on us. We need to do better because we need to do better.
I agree.
I think that if you took all the Black people, we became a country, 90% of what we would have, we'd have to outsource.
Okay, and that's a problem. We need to start.
It's not a problem.
We need. Well, I think it's a problem.
No, it's a problem. It's a huge problem because in the event that shit goes down and you become enemies with the country that you're trading with, you're screwed.
Right, but I don't know that we want to go as far as like planning to, what if we have to secede? If in a lot of people, like a Glenn Lowry, for instance, he will say, "Hey, black people, we need to stop. These white people are going to get pissed. We need to pay attention to what white people think and basically appease them." Um, I'm saying bullshit to that.
Uh,
We just need to do better. Who really cares what white people think, one way or the other?
okay. Well, it the silent generation, the boomer generation produced Generation X, my generation, and for whatever complaints that those folk have about what we need to do and things of that nature, by their actions, the following generations are doing quite well. So,
Okay, the silent generation was mostly white.
well, I'm talking about silent generation blacks, Stanley.
Uh,
But
is there such a thing?
yeah, I mean it's age related, not race
Many
related.
left, though. Not many left.
Okay, I had no idea. I've never heard that generation of black people called the silent generation.
These
Were
are
they
broad
actually silent? Didn't they turn into radicals?
these are broad
No,
American terms.
I would
that
say
would be my grandmother's generation, 1919 to what, like 1940 something or what
yeah.
have you.
Yeah, exactly.
And no, that
Well,
they were
bottom
my
line,
grandmother at least was get along. My grandmother at least was go along
Get them.
to get along.
Yeah.
right. Well, she didn't much have a choice.
Right.
Yeah,
Black people today have choices. You can be who you want to be, let your freak flag fly,
Mhm.
but what white people think about you letting your freak flag fly in a racial sense, um, we need to stop obsessing over it.
but the following generations are not doing that.
They should be.
What's up, T?
What do you mean? Hey, tough
Okay,
man.
My goodness.
12th man, can you hold on one sec?
I just wanted to ask
They need,
T if
they need to they need to kind of, I mean, do what they want to do, but really, we need to start thinking of ourselves. We need to be a little bit more self sufficient, and we need to dispel the notion that there really is a community.
But the younger generation is doing that. Well, not maybe not the last part as much, but
Well, that's good. They should be. I'm proud of them.
right. And I'm saying a lot. It's largely thanks to the boomers and the late silent people
C-
for
Can I ask
creating.
a question, Pop?
Sure.
So I guess my question is, do you feel like the younger generations, like the Gen Zs and thereafter, the Gen Alpha, whatever, you think they should be more like the boomers and the silent generation, or should they be more outspoken?
They should not go along to get along.
I agree, Stanley.
I wish their values would be more boomer and silent, but in terms of how they're living, I think they should be what they are, which is free.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Because I that worked for them back then, to be silent and just go along and get along.
They
But
didn't have a choice.
they didn't have a choice, right? So
Well, they had a choice.
they did, but
I don't
do
think
you
they
want
actually
to live
did.
or do you want to die? So that's the kind of the choice that you have to.
Now, there were people who had more choices than others.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and you read like E. Franklin Frazier, I mean, he will talk about a segment of the black bourgeoisie. They had more choices than more of the working class, or I forget what's the term he uses. So there was a segment that had more choices, but even they had limited choices. There was a glass ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A number of things brought up. I was listening to this guy and I'm thinking, but you brought it
Well,
up. What
I mean,
generation are you talking
we're
to?
still kind of learning what he's about. I've read him before, but it's been a while. He is more a critical theory guy. He is a Marxist. which I don't have a problem with. I don't happen to want to go that far, but I'm the sort of person who will pick and choose the good stuff, and the stuff that I don't need, I'll leave.
Fair enough. All right, I'll shut up.
Oh no, Bob. I still at some point, maybe not tonight, but I really do want to talk to you about, maybe if you have any thoughts.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to do it now because I want to get through this. But if you're going to be around a while, we can do it either later or just at another time.
Yeah, well, if I'm around, but yeah, I'll get it to you. I'll be happy to talk about that.
Quick question though: have you ever had to fly into Reagan National?
Oh, I have.
Well, tell us about that. I mean, did it scare you? I mean, was it routine? Night, day?
You're pretty much on your toes. There's a lot of restricted areas around there where if you fly over it, you're going to have to be answering to the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
So you're very alert, but the actual approach, I would say, is fun.
Really?
And as long as you plan ahead and know what you're doing, it's a chance to put the airplane in positions that it doesn't normally do, with the turning and going down and turning back the other way. So
nice.
I think most guys will say it's challenging but fun.
Would you say, I mean, and I don't know anything about the industry, so, it might be a dumb question, but do they let new people, do you have to have a certain number of hours, co-pilot time? I mean, how do you get someone who's relatively new experience-wise prepared to deal with it?
It's a good question.
Well,
No, they don't have specific.
Yes.
You have a TSA pass, and then you can just walk right by them. You don't need to strip and all that. Just get on an airplane.
I'm talking about flying into it as a pilot.
There's no specific instruction that you get on particular routes that are challenging, but in the simulator.
Excuse me. Okay.
But during training, you are subject to a number of different scenarios that would more than enough have your skills sharp to handle something like that.
Okay.
So
yeah, and then if you're flying in state and you're on a non-international air flight, then you don't really need that much. Just say your name and you're on the plane.
Awesome.
Just like that.
Do you get to meet the pilot?
Oh yeah.
Was he Bob? Just joking.
No, he was actually it was a she. It was a she pilot, and she was very good.
I love
it. Some people on an airline in Alaska, they weren't so lucky. So 10 died today, or actually it was yesterday. Flying from Kotzebue to Nome, or
that's
something
right.
like that.
Crash in Alaska.
Yeah, and so it does happen, but I still trust those small planes better than those big ass planes. I don't know why it is, Stanley. I just don't trust the big planes.
Stanley, I'll be happy to get that information to you at a later point. I'll sit back and listen. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob, and I appreciate it.
No problem. Talk, y'all.
Take it easy.
Have a good one.
Well, let's finish
Take care, Bob.
Our egghead journey. Universal, up to you when you get bored with it, but I'm kind of invigorated.
Yeah, let's continue on. We don't have to go through this whole thing. It's a long video, Stanley.
Oh, I'll go through it.
Hey, you're the host.
I have nothing to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
this
Well,
capacity to move.
I might leave in a little bit, but
No,
just
if
go
you
ahead.
leave, we'll I'd rather watch it with you. So when
I
you're
got you.
ready, we can
I got
curb it and come back to it.
All right. Okay.
Hey,
For the
Stanley, I
people of the
thought you
world.
were going to church tomorrow. Ain't you going to church?
You know, the last time I
Okay.
went to actual mass was on a ship. So that's like 30 years ago.
Oh wow.
Well,
However, I did go to my mother's funeral mass, so that's that.
what's up, Latino? You know, black.
Well, Lieutenant Satan Stanley don't go to church. Said they call him Satan Stanley.
Oh, that was a Navy thing.
Oh my God. That's funny. But you guys, thank you for having me. I'm not gonna stay long. I appreciate you guys having me. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey,
Oh,
dude.
we bore you.
I need to come hang out on your channel.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to come say hi. I haven't been up in a minute, so.
Well, yeah, I'm
You're doing.
supposed to come over to your show and be brave enough to come up on the panel one day.
You should. What are you
I
afraid
will.
of?
T's channel's fun. I want.
It's
I
fun.
don't over here all the time.
It's crazy, but it's
I
fun.
don't think I'm hip enough.
Oh, please. You'll be just fine. You'll be
T,
good.
are you doing karaoke tonight or no?
I think I'm gonna do a little piece of karaoke tonight.
Yeah.
A piece of karaoke.
A little piece. So yeah, y'all. If
Well,
y'all
save a spot for Virgo. She's probably going to want to be singing some.
Oh yeah, she's sipping her wine too, like me.
Right, she's going to want to be singing some Anita Baker.
Oh yes, come on, caught up in the rapture of love. Absolutely. So I'll be waiting. But
All
thank
right.
y'all again.
Can I,
Y'all
Take it
have a
easy.
good stream.
can I pick a song too, T?
Of course. Of course you can. Yes.
I love T.
Oh, I love you too. I'll see y'all later. I'm not trying to
No,
do too much, but I love y'all. Y'all have a good one. Bye, guys.
Take care. Take care.
I'll see you in a little bit, T.
Did you see Palomino's comment? Don't go to church, Stanley. They will burn you at the stake.
That's why he's going.
Hey, flames are afraid of me, buddy. Oh, you don't know many black Catholics? Well, I grew up in Clarence Thomas's parish.
Dynamic, which cannot be imagined. This is what makes and I will stand by this, not just because I've written analytic articles about it, but because just like my Palestinian friend, everyone understands that Blackness is a threat without an idea. Fanon wrote this. He says to Sartre, the Jew is a threat conceptually.
Now, see, I would actually wonder, and I would actually ask the question to him, and who knows, maybe I'll find his email. And people like a Be Brave actually want to say that Black is a threat because of the crime. They equate one.
Come on, Stanley, you've been talking about Be Brave.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. Hold on one sec. They shouldn't, but they do. You know, Black equals crime or violent crime.
You've been talking about Be Brave since 10 o'clock in the morning, bro. Come on, man.
So what?
Why are you stuck on that white boy?
Is it okay? Well, he happens to have so many bad points that it's almost like, you know, he's like a paint. He's like a splatter. You know, you drop that water balloon and water gets everywhere. So my question would be, how do you deal with that in an Afro-Pessimism framework? And it's probably in the book somewhere. How would you? And he talks about semiotics and all that. But the problem is, if I brought up semiotics to Be Brave, it would just You know,
it'll go over his head.
well, it wouldn't just go over his head. He would probably make some joke about egghead and you read too many books and you don't know what's going on the streets. I would just be curious to know how that would be handled.
I don't know. I'm actually getting more interested to actually read this book now.
Yeah, start with that audiobook link. I will get the book, but shoot, I might even just, I don't generally do audiobooks, but since it's there.
Yeah.
Stanley, can I ask you a favor?
What would that be?
To share Sam Fisher's link one more time, because we're in the number 2 and the final thing here. So
Okay.
if you could do that, and if anyone would vote for Sam, I'd really appreciate it.
Let's see here. America's favorite pet.
I'll put the link right here, Stanley.
Okay, I found it.
I could, if we don't win this week, then we're out. So we gotta win, Stanley. We gotta win this week. You don't want that little dog winning, do you?
I sure don't.
Wouldn't you rather a smart dog win it than just a little rich dog? Please vote
yeah,
for Sam Fisher.
I would want the proletariat's dog to win.
Yeah. I've had him ever since he was 6 weeks old.
That's sure a long time in dog years.
Humble president.
Yeah, now he's going on 9 years old.
Good question, Humble.
He's going on 9 years. So I appreciate everyone's votes. And that really means a lot to me if you vote for my dog. And if Portia, sorry, Stanley.
No, go ahead.
If Portia was on here, I'd send her a Cash App. That way she could vote more for Sam Fisher. But we're in it to win it. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Portia's taking a day off.
Yeah.
A well-deserved day off, by the way.
There'll be a 2-for-1 event next week too, so I'm saving up for that and drinking less wine, Stanley, and smoking less marijuana.
Oh, are you?
And yeah.
Well, I'm curious to know, what are you substituting it with?
Nothing. Just gonna go sober for a while, evidently.
When? Tomorrow?
Right now.
Oh, you're sober now?
Not exactly.
Okay. I was getting concerned. You know,
Hey Stanley, I'll be right back. Feel free to play the video. I'll be still listening, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, and if Universal John, if you could please vote for my dog, and any money I get, I don't get any money unless I win, but like if you vote for the dog, then I'm gonna give every dollar back to the John Galt show.
Oh wow, amazing!
Okay.
You got my support. I voted, and I'm going to make sure that I share that link too. So you got my support.
Thank you so much, Universal Jones.
Wow, Diallo, you don't know who Diallo Kenyatta is, do you? Universal.
Oh, sorry, I was almost up to it.
Diallo.
Yes,
Kenyatta?
I am familiar with. Yes, I am familiar with.
I see he talks about Afro-Pessimism. I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar. I don't really like follow his content as much, but I am familiar with him. Yes.
Yeah, I used to literally like every day I was watching Black Power Media, Jared Hall and the gang, and
Yep.
every Friday he, Diallo, and I forget the third guy's name. He's a younger guy. They do a show, probably still do, but I for some reason or another I just kind of got bored with them and just stopped listening. You know, because it was kind of repetitive.
Yeah, that happens a lot in these spaces. But Stanley, that goes to my point earlier that, you know, Black writers and thinkers, I think that they box themselves into the race thing where they don't advance any of their theories or their thought processes. Because at some point you just hit a roadblock, you hit a wall with this. Like there's so much more to talk about and use your skills, talents, and degrees for. But for Black folks, we just can't shake the race piece. It bothers me. I don't know.
Well, I do think that it probably serves a dual purpose. It is a moneymaker and it is a cause.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
But I'll be honest with you, I would literally say like if I'm not on this channel, and to be honest with you, I'm gonna try and do better. Basically, I'm gonna start using the "fu" term a lot more when these guys want to bring up race. Fuck them. But however, that means my "fuck you" will be colorblind.
Well, hey guys, I'm gonna go hang out with T. I'll check y'all later.
All right, have a good night. Have a good night, man.
I love y'all. Peace out.
If you're
Tell
traveling,
T
please take an Uber or Lyft.
Tell T that I haven't seen her in so long. She should come over and visit.
You should come over and visit her karaoke, Stanley.
I will do just that.
All right. Sounds good.
Take it easy.
See you, 12 man. You know, Stuart makes an interesting.
Did he not know she was over here?
Man, he sounds like he is on a whole another planet right now, man.
Oh, he's been worse.
I know. I know, Stanley. Sadly, I know. I wanted to respond to Stuart's comment in the chat because he's commenting based off what you said about making money. He says you don't make no money, and it said AI, and he says you don't make no money, and their total modality is centered around race. Better catch up. I don't think that's true.
Guess what, Stuart? Yeah, I better catch up. Really. Bottom line is, if you got a YouTube channel, and they've got forget how many now. Like last I checked, it was close to 30,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
you may not be making a lot of money, but you will get some donations. You will get a couple bucks here and there. I didn't say you were going to make even a living, but yeah, you can get a couple bucks every now and again.
And just like many things, I think there's levels to it, right? Because a lot of these people, they do make. I'll be honest with you, I've made money off some of this stuff myself.
Do you know how much Cornell West makes?
Oh
now,
my God.
He is a professor, but you know what? He makes a lot of money.
He makes more money out of the classroom than in it and off campus. Let's not get it confused, people. You can make a lot of money with talking about these things, speaking, being a part of various different initiatives and policies and conferences. You can make money. I have made money. Part of one of my streams of income is within this space. I think just hopping online, talking about it, and being a content creator is a little different than these professors who do this as a profession.
Right.
It's very, very different. And I've taught. I teach in the fall. I don't teach in the spring. I teach grad school, and I teach the diversity class. And please believe, if I write a book, or even if I contributed to a textbook, a chapter, or I was a co-author on a chapter, I can take that and probably finesse that into an extra $20,000 to maybe $30,000 a year just by doing that. And then people don't understand. But see, the weird part about this, Stanley, is you complain about racism in the systems, but then you benefit from it from another end. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is irony. And you know what? If your profession is, African American studies, for instance, or history with an emphasis on African American history, um, history. If believe me, if I had my perfect world, uh, I would have been either a historian or I would have been a classicist. Believe it or not,
Yeah.
I really liked Latin and Greek.
Yeah.
However, my parents, said, "Hey, you need to do something a bit more practical,"
Mm-hmm.
and so it goes. I think it was good advice, and oh well.
Yeah.
But I mean, if your profession is talking about history and a history of oppression and stuff, more power to you. I don't see a problem with it.
But what has happened though, Stanley, is that they've taken the Black experience and they put it in all these professions. So you can be a doula and you can talk about the history of trauma that showed up. You could be a freaking engineer. Like they put it in everything. Like if there's your son goes to Georgia Tech, if he can get access, you might be able to access yourself as just a resident of Georgia. But if you can look at like the last 2 years of dissertations or master's thesis,
Hmm.
and if you can and look at the names, because you can tell, sometimes you can tell the Black names. Look at what they wrote about. I can almost guarantee you, Stanley, they all write about race, man. It's like I'm like, there's no other thing to talk about but race. Like, you're too smart to not be able to think beyond this. But again, we're
Well,
just,
I mean, but what if it's their actual interest?
but it is that's my point, Stanley. It is their interest. But what I'm saying is but that's their main focus. I mean, they could be a nursing student and they're talking about how
Well,
race
what if it is actually their interest? I don't know that I have a problem with that. It
it
is.
but Stanley, so what I'm saying is, yes, it is their interest, but also can they have interest beyond racism? And I think that we've been so engulfed in the culture of how we've been victimized, especially over the last 15 years or so, that it is a genuine interest of theirs, but it also stunts their intellectual ability to think about something else.
Okay,
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
okay,
I don't know.
well, no, I'm not going to even say you're wrong. I mean, it makes sense, but I honestly will go. So what? And I really mean, like, hey, let them do what they want to do. They have to deal with their consequences.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't even
true.
I don't even have to care about the consequences. It really, truly, other than me shaking my head and going, gee, doesn't affect me.
But
I honestly don't care.
but where it does affect, where it
See,
does
you're in a
affect the
profession that your profession, and probably your profession is your passion.
yeah.
I'm just a little bit more clinical. I'm not.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm a little. I do have a misanthropic streak.
Yeah, no, I got you. I mean, I think it affects us because it keeps us from doing the things where we don't see a lot of Black people, like even like being a pilot. Like, a lot of Black people who probably could do that job just as well as Bob or anyone else, they won't even consider themselves for that type of
It's a personal
profession.
choice. I don't care.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that. But see,
No, seriously, I like sitting here as John Galt will do sometimes and talk about black people should be doing this or black people should be doing that. He needs to stop doing that. He needs to stop caring. And I'm kind of doing the same thing you're doing with race. I'm saying, hey, you should stop caring.
yeah,
I'm giving unsolicited advice.
yeah.
But I honestly believe that you just got to let them do what they do and let them figure it out. Don't fret it.
I know it's and I guess even as I'm speaking out loud and thinking about this, I'm even wrapped up in it because part of me wants us to do better, but I should be more like where you're at, like fuck it. If they want to fail, let them fail. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, I'm serious.
and I, Stanley, and that's the funny thing, because that's what's led me to a lot of conservative thought is like, well, if you don't want to fucking make the changes and do the shit you need to do to make your life better or your community, then have it, or then do whatever the fuck you want. But there's still a little piece in me that's like, we as a collective, we can do better. And
Well, we can, but so can white people.
yeah, that's
Which
true.
folks around here, other than other than Asians, maybe, they need work in other areas like personality. That's a
Sure.
joke.
Sure.
But I'm saying that we all have work to do, and
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. We all do have work to do. And I think my racial socialization has kept this piece of me that really wants black people to just be in a better position.
You know
Just
what?
black.
My thing is I don't like hearing black people be wrong about shit.
I know, Stan. I see it almost every day on this channel, sir.
And I need to stop doing that. I know I do. It's just like a years ago when I was in high school, we had something called the Savannah Science Seminar. It was, I might have been the only black person selected for it. In the city, not just the school, in the city.
You might have been the only black person who fucking applied, Stanley.
No, you had to be nominated.
Oh, okay.
You didn't apply. But anyway, one day, we were, one of the things we were talking about was psychology or something, and this dude knew, like a high school classmate of mine, knew how to hypnotize people. And he hypnotized this guy, and it wasn't an act. So I'm like, well, wow. So he tried to hypnotize me. And what he would do is have you follow, the tip of a pen or something, count backwards from 100. And fucking every time I made a mistake, I would snap out of it and correct myself. So the upshot is I wasn't able to be hypnotized because I kept self-correcting. It's a bad and annoying habit, but I've been doing it since I was a kid. So I really wish I could stop doing it. Like the other day, Be Brave's show, the Be Brave and John Racism Roundtable.
Yeah.
I got in, I started listening for like 5 minutes, and I knew that, hey, I've got to disengage now because I'm going to go up there if I don't disengage now, and I'm going to start ranting about how wrong they are, how they're getting the history wrong, etc. So I just left it. So I'm trying, I'm struggling. I'm going to do better, damn it. So anyway, we'll finish up a few more minutes of this. Sure. And Tyrone's point about, hey, I gotta speak like the everyman. It would just make me bitter to do that.
Has to wait to see if they act like a Jew, if they perform Jewishness. The black is a threat corporally, the body, not the ideas. This is why I try to get across the nation piece. And Ehrlichman said it to Nixon, right? We are not against Black people's ideas. Black people don't have any ideas. I don't mean we don't have ideas. What I mean is we don't have any auditors. And that's what makes Black people crazy, thinking that somebody's listening. Somebody can hear. Somebody will judge me for my actions. My Palestinian friend.
Oh, I gotta play that again. Black people thinking somebody's listening.
But that's what but see, Stanley, that's what I kind of was saying. I wasn't saying that, but what I was getting at is close to where he's at. Is that we've talked about this race thing so long and in so many spaces that people don't care no more. They're just moving on.
Well, you know what? Now the not caring isn't because we're whistling Dixie. They just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, because we fucking have complained about this for so long with no real tangible results since the 60s that people are like, what are you complaining about? And then I think we have
you know what? Those are the people who are fucked up.
I get, yes.
It's not Black people who are fucked up in this case. It's other people just not giving a fuck because it doesn't affect them. Now, Black people, we need to just realize that people don't give a fuck. Even if it is fucked up, but it's not affecting other people, they don't care.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's the repetition, oh, these people are whining. They literally don't care.
Yeah, I think
that's the Afro-Pessimism part that I actually do know. They don't care.
Yeah, I would agree. I actually think both things can be true, though. I think that they cannot care. And I think that we also can be fucked up too. Still, like we got some shit we have to really figure out.
Yeah, but I mean, complaining that hey, Harvard only has 2%, whatever the percentage is, it's single digits.
Yeah,
Harvard only has this many people. Well, I think that's a valid complaint, but they're not going to lower the standards.
I hope not.
Not just for us.
I mean, I wouldn't want them to lower the stand. I mean, see, to me, that to me signals we need to figure out how do we have our children get Harvard ready.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and it was a legal thing where they got rid of affirmative action.
Yeah,
but essentially, they lowered their standards for Asians.
Yes, and then they say and that backfired.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that when they got rid of the components of race and personality, there were a couple different things that that they were doing. Harvard specifically, that they were doing. They were giving points based on several different things, and they basically had to scrap the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they were looking for Asians who could do more than study, because that's essentially what they were doing. You got your 4.7 grade point average, but all you did was study. You didn't get out and play a sport or anything like that. Asians basically want SAT scores to count for everything. And Harvard was saying, no, we need people that are more well-rounded. Asians aren't, ticking that box. Getting rid of the system that they had basically allows Asians, it lowers the standards in a social points, whatever the term was, that social point score, it gets scrapped, it's lowering a standard.
Hold on one second, Stanley. I had to take a call. You can play the tape.
Okay, and Stuart, I think Asians have race pride. I don't agree with that. I know enough Asians to know that I think if there's any pride that they might have, I've run into a few who basically want to, emphasize their Caucasian roots and say that, oh, hey, we're like pre-white. We Indians specifically and white people have ancestry. I do know about that sort of race pride, But I also know a lot of people who don't, who are kind of like, they're not wearing their Asianness on their sleeve. And if anything that Asians may have in common, at least South Asians, is they have a high opinion of Ashkenazi Jews. So they actually have pride in being like the Jews. I guess maybe that is race pride. I don't know. Cultural pride, yeah. But you know what? Stuart, that's an interesting point. What if Black Americans consider themselves Americans and have pride in their American culture? What's your answer to that? Because in my opinion, Black culture is a form, or let's just say a dialect of American culture. How do you handle that? Because the culture Black Americans exist in is American culture.
Corporally, the body, not the ideas. This is why I try to get across the nation piece. And Ehrlichman said it to Nixon, right? We are not against Black people's ideas. Black people don't have any ideas. I don't mean we don't have ideas. What I mean is we don't have any auditors. And that's what makes Black people crazy, thinking that somebody's listening, somebody can hear, somebody will judge me for my actions. My Palestinian friend, the unconscious doesn't allow that to happen. And I'm sorry if that hurts people. It hurts me too. But we have spent 20 years carefully analyzing that dynamic. And nobody has come up with an analytic rebuttal to that. They've all come up with, this hurts solidarity. This makes me feel bad. This is a way of being race first. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm no, I'm just not able, I won't deal with people's emotional problems. I got my own.
In fact, you say if as Afro-Pessimism argues, Blacks are not human subjects, but are instead structurally inert props, implements for the execution of white and non-Black fantasies and sadomasochistic pleasures, then this also means that at a higher level of abstraction, the claims of universal humanity that the above theories all subscribe to are hobbled by a meta-aporia, a contradiction that manifests whenever one looks seriously at the structure of Black suffering in comparison to the presumed universal structure of all sentient beings. And you say this in response to your explanation as to why Marxism, or your quick summary as to why Marxism, post-colonialism, psychoanalysis, and feminism are ultimately insufficient in explaining or resolving the problem. Why isn't Afro-pessimism? By the way, just very quickly, shout out to Joy James. You mentioned this, and feminism. Why in comparison to the presumed universal structure of all sentient beings. And you say this in response to your explanation as to why Marxism, or your quick summary as to why Marxism, post-colonialism, psychoanalysis, and feminism are ultimately insufficient in explaining or resolving the problem. Why isn't Afro-pessimism? By the way, just very quickly, shout out to Joy James. You mentioned her, and I forgot to just come back and double down on that. Much respect to Dr. Joy James. And you used the analogy earlier of the queen and the pawn, that about what is possible for each, and to understand the sort of the world that a challenge to Blackness ultimately leads to the end of. We have to appreciate, or at least understand, what are supposed to be the potentials of each. But again, the critics of your work would often argue that you don't give room to recognize, to borrow your analogy, that in chess the pawn can become a queen. That transformation, that radical transformation, seems to be lost in your work. Now, again, as I said, I've never read your work, and certainly in the interviews we've done, I don't know how many, I mean, I don't know, approaching, I don't know, however many at this point, but I've never walked away feeling anything but inspired to the most radical political behavior. Yet, again, it is persistent, and and maybe it's because the term pessimism is in the title, but that many take this away.
Hey, Universal, did you hear that part about all the isms, psychoanalysis, Marxism, feminism, and I forget what the fourth is. Post-colonialism.
No, what did they state?
He basically said none of them were adequate to dealing with the problems that we have. Essentially, nobody's listening. He's basically saying the part about, hey, Afro-pessimism basically disrupts any unity we might be forming, the community, basically. He's basically saying that, hey, look, you know what? I just don't care about the emotional part of it. He's pretty much done with that emotional part. And he's basically saying that all those isms, none of that stuff, the feminism, the Marxism, the post-colonialism, psychoanalysis, none of that is up to the job of basically helping us.
Bringing humanity closer or better or whatever. I would actually agree with that. I think that a lot of those isms create compound.
Okay, I don't think postmodernism is essentially grounded in Marxism. Postmodernism definitely will not help. The critical analysis sort of stuff. No, I don't. I think it is Western based and not adequate to dealing with Black people's problems in America. I think it's just too Eurocentric. Marxism. I think that Marxism specifically does nothing other than critique capitalism very well. Beyond that, I really don't have a use for Marxism. So I disagree about the postmodernism stuff. Don't. And I'm not even like into James Lindsay and all those folks. I'm just saying it's Eurocentric. It does not address Black life, Black history in America. That's what he means about all those isms not really being adequate to address, the reality of being Black in America and history and all that stuff.
Again, even reading this most recent work, which is in I guess in a part two, another memoir of sorts. I don't know, a different part of your life. There's nothing in there that says we can't. That I take meaning we can't struggle, we can't fight, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. Anyway, but
yeah, well, okay. So very quickly, pessimism is not in Afro-pessimism, and this is, I understand how people get this wrong because we haven't actually come out explicitly, and we haven't had time, to answer, because there's more slings and arrows coming at us than people saying, oh, hey, check this out. Anyway, pessimism is not meant to connote an emotional dispensation. Pessimism is meant to connote an attitude towards the emancipatory horizon of Marxism, feminism, post-colonialism, and psychoanalysis. In other words, it's really like hijacking a phrase from Antonio Gramsci, who says, I have a pessimism of the intellect and an optimism of the will. By that, he means I have a pessimism of the bourgeois economists and the social democrats who analyze Italy's problems in a half-assed way, but I have an optimism of the factory workers in Turin who are occupying the factories. So we have a pessimism of the capacity of Marxism, feminism, psychoanalysis, and postcolonialism to think through the essence of Black suffering. It's a pessimism of their intellectual projects. We have an optimism of Black people's capacity to move, to set it off. Okay, so that's one thing. Getting back to the pawn queen thing. Okay, so
what do you think about that?
I would agree with that. I think most Black intellectuals don't want to move. They're comfortable in understanding, expressing, and what we talked about, complaining about the problem, and not as interested in finding strategies to move beyond it.
Okay. I agree with it, but there's one or two things I need to kind of think about to work out. Now the problem, and it's not really a problem, it kind of addresses something that I talked again with Solid Snake last night about, about quote Black leaders. I don't think we have them. To be honest with you, I'm not sure that we need them at a national level. I don't know that we don't need a Martin Luther King. I mean, there's a lot of local issues that, don't need to be addressed at a national level.
You know who the true Black leaders are in the community?
Who?
The parents.
Parents? Nice.
The parents.
Nice. Okay.
And that's our failure, is we've pushed responsibility, leadership, and cultivation to institutions that may or may not be controlled by us. We know most of them are not. Mm-hmm. We pushed our responsibility to media to inform, to the education systems to teach and cultivate, to police and law enforcement to govern us and keep us accountable. We lost the art of family/community development, and we took on what they keep mentioning, radical, which I was going to ask you a question. What do you think radical means? Because it's so important for these intellectuals to be.
I think it's radical to tell people you don't give a shit what they think.
Yes. And you can do that without
have you noticed how it offends people sometimes on this channel?
Well, Stanley, there's other factors there too, Stanley. But yeah, sure. But
no, I think almost, in a way, it's almost like Ayn Rand, Howard Rourke. I really don't care what you think. I'm going to do it my way. Now, you may screw it up, but it is weirdly almost objectivism.
Yep, and that's actually what kind of led me to this channel, because I was familiar with Ayn Rand and objectivism, and the channel's called John Galt. I was like, what the hell? And it's a Black dude too. That was like, what is going on?
Well, I don't have much use for Ayn Rand other than I like the book, okay, but I think objectivism. If you ever delve into the life of Ayn Rand, she's not a very likable person. Yeah, so her personal life kind of turned me off.
Yeah,
but in a way it is similar. Not really caring. When you don't have to. Sometimes you do have to care. I realize that. So anyway, I like that, and I like what you said about parents being the true leaders. That's nice.
Yeah, we don't need talking heads or people that we elect or select. Because at the end of the day, especially in this society, those people are going to do what they're supposed to do, which is figure out a way to monetize and create a living off of it. And we can't get mad if we're going to support it. But leadership starts in the home. Like, so many people miss this when I do, because I do a lot of work with children. That's been my pretty much my main focus from a psychological standpoint. I was working with families and young people,
Mm-hmm.
and all the kids that have, not all, I would say probably 90, I would just say 90%. We'll just say 90%. 90% of the kids that have behavioral issues, emotional issues, or even mental health issues, they all have really dysfunctional family dynamics. That's across the board, ethnic wise. That, to me, that always signaled the importance of having good foundations, solid parents, people who are connected, some actual cultivation of families. And when you look at the African American family and what we've gone through in the last 40 years, I'll just use that as a easy number.
Right.
Since the late 70s, since the late 70s, early 80s, we've seen a serious breakdown of the Black family, and really Black relationships. And honestly, Stanley, I think that's why it's such a hot topic to talk about. Like, I think subconsciously, Black folks know that is the actual problem. It ain't even white supremacy. It's the relationships are bad.
Well, I also want to say though, the aphorism. I think it's an aphorism. When America catches a cold, Black people catch the flu.
Correct.
America in general is having a breakdown of the family. And I think it's reflected in, declining birth rates and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Marriage rates.
I was kind of shocked, that I read an article yesterday basically saying that, sex in like the age range of like high school to 25, like maybe 15 to 25 or something like that, is down 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And, which is a good thing. But I'm also saying that I think that we have raised kids, and I mean the collective we have raised kids who aren't interested in even having families. That's how bad it is. Young Black males, marriage rate for young Black males.
Oh man,
a lot of things that basically point to not only is family not a priority, shit, people just don't want to do it.
And they're starting to, and what you're seeing is acceptance of this, right? So you're seeing people talk about poly relationships because people don't want to commit. So like, fuck it, we'll just all be together for the ones who do. Or you'll see, like, this always threw me because I remember growing up in baby showers being like a really significant thing. And you'll see like women who get baby showers, and this is like their third baby shower and their third child's father. Like we have just accepted such a lower standard to all these things that I think that if there was some sort of cultural resistance or pushback, I don't think it's going to stop it from happening, but it might make people think twice. Is this a good decision for me? Am I doing the right thing? And but you don't have that when you don't have strong foundations in communities and families. So
let me ask you a question. I have always kind of instinctively known that, no woman, no cry. Basically, having more than one serious relationship, like, if you decide you want to be polyamorous, that's actually much more trouble than it's worth. Women can be demanding, and doing it, right, takes a lot of work. And I'm wondering if these millennials who want to, do the group marriage thing or group relationship thing, if they will maybe learn that the hard way, and there'll be a natural course correction.
Most likely, because right now it's really driven just by high sex drives. It's not. They're not trying to do it to better the outcomes for the children or build a community. They're just trying to fuck each other and do it without hiding each other from each other. It's silly.
God, I just think that, doing it in a group though, god damn. I'm a one-on-one guy.
Hey man, it's a freaky ass world out here. Pop the balloon should have proved that to you by now. And Diddy. But we can play the tape.
So my own work in particular, is most Afro-pessimism is weighted towards an analysis of capacity, even though it does a lot of other things in the work itself. Jared Sexton's work he's basically saying in amalgamation schemes, look, I have a white mother and a black father. However, I know in this movement, whether you take a broadside from a political movement or an academic book from some mixed race person who's writing about people always say, if everybody mixed races and we were just all blending together, the world would be better. Whether it's that shit or something else, he says, what is at the core of that statement? What is at the core of that statement? The core of that statement is an anxiety about Black. And he says, everywhere I look in biracial literature, I see an anxiety about Black. I say in Palestine, I don't say Palestinians aren't suffering from Israelis. What I see is an anxiety about Black. I see it in Tel Aviv. I see it in Gaza. In Cuba, the best country in the world, I see an anxiety about Black. An anxiety about Black. Without an anxiety about Black, people could not exist in their relational dynamics. Full stop. Without that anxiety, there could be no white families, there could be no white nations, there could be no Native American families. An anxiety about Blackness is like the grain of sand around which the mucus forms to create being. That is an argument which we have documented. In fact, we're not the first people to document that. Fanon documents that, but he says something that we disagree with. He says, by talking it through, you can get beyond that. No.
You don't know.
No. By ending the world, you can get beyond that. And you can't even know what's beyond that. You can't, because people don't, the unconscious doesn't speak. You don't speak the unconscious. It speaks you. The only thing you speak is your preconscious, but there's another engine inside of you that's generating all the things that you do, and it's generating them in symptomatic gestures, symptomatic actions, okay? You cannot teach the unconscious. It is an unteachable part of the brain. It can be traumatized, it can be destroyed, it's not that it cannot be changed, but it cannot be changed through dialogue. Okay, now pawn queen thing very quickly. What I did a very quick gloss of this before. I said that what I'm most interested in putting down tracks of before I die is an
hey, Universal, they specifically, or Wilderson specifically says Black. The problem is
Lack of anxiety.
yeah. Now Stewart says here that the anxiety is being born non-white. I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, now that could very well be, but he doesn't really care. He's talking specifically about blackness, whatever you want to call it. So I'm trying to figure out whether he is basically disagreeing and saying, "Hey, this is bigger than just the fear of Black. It's fear of non-white." Do you think that's what he's saying?
Yeah, yes. Stewart's coming from the Mr. Fuller kind of concept here, which we've also talked about earlier this week.
Right.
But
was Fuller that concerned with non-white or specifically Black?
I would say both. He would reference all people who are not classified as white as non-white, but he would speak directly about black experiences.
Okay,
So
because I'm basically going to say, well, Wilderson doesn't care. He's focused specifically on Afro-Pessimism.
correct, right.
So, okay, I got you.
Yep.
I understand what Stuart's saying.
I also I agree with this point he made, but I had to think on it a little bit more. But he said you can't change the subconscious mind with dialogue or conversations. He said conversations. I don't know if that's 100% true. I know that experiences have way more influence in the conversation.
But it sounds like he's talking about psychotherapy.
Well,
isn't that
if he was, then what he's saying is psychotherapy isn't as effective as we think it is collectively. Which I don't disagree with that.
Said that psychoanalysis is one of the isms.
Yes, it is, and it's limited because it's from a Eurocentric paradigm only, and I think that's fucked up. And I actually I get in trouble sometimes, Stanley, but I bring this up in my professional life all the time. That's how I address diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to psychology. Is I'm probably one of the more vocal people that says this shit there's some truth here, but this shit needs to be remixed. This is old, outdated shit from over 100 years ago, from really a white man's perspective too. We really want to dive into it. We are missing a lot. So, but I think with his point though, I would disagree. I think the subconscious with repetition can be changed in dialogue. Otherwise, we've wasted billions of hours on YouTube making content.
Well, let me ask you a question though. Doesn't the age of that mind matter? Is there a point where something like dialogue won't work? Once your brain is set at 25 or whatever?
No, I think so. No, this is where we're getting into neuroplasticity. So there are points and times in the development of the human brain where the conversation will it will gradual the learning becomes very gradual, like between the ages of 3 and I would say 9, maybe 10. That's probably the best time if you want to propagate somebody. That is your best time because they're going to understand it the fastest, and it's more likely to stick once they get into puberty. What our brains do, just like our bodies, is once we turn 10, 11, 12, our brains start to go through puberty like our body. And our brain, our synapse connections in our brain starts to prune off things that we don't feel like we need for our survival. So when you look at, for example, urban Black youth comparative to, let's say, a Black youth who may not be in an urban setting, those two kids, based on just surviving those environments, are going to prune off very different things. It could be study skills. The kids in the hood are very good with their mouths, and right, they know how to Joan and they know how to play the dozens. They know, because that's a survival technique in that area, in that community. Where you get a suburban kid like one of my kids, they're gonna get fucking fried trying to talk to these urban kids. They're gonna hurt my little daughter's feelings because she doesn't have that survival mechanism built into her, right?
Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah. So some of the problems we have is actually just survival that we've had to develop since we've been urbanized as Black people. That's part of this puzzle that a lot of people don't talk about. Is the urban? You can see this when you look at urban Blacks who are in mostly northern or sometimes western cities versus southern Blacks like yourself from like a place like Savannah. Those people can be very different people just based on region.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what he's saying to me, like what I'm hearing him say, is that through conversation it's not that effective. I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's more to it, like repetition, like having the same conversation over and over, or understanding it from different perspectives. That I think that does get to your subconscious. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of riffing and going off on it, but I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay. Well, we'll start.
Analytic of embodied capacity. okay? Because I think there's too much, especially in the Anglo-American world. I've taught all over the world. In the Anglo-American world is the worst world for thinking theoretically, because British and American people think about what they can see and touch, and they develop their theories from that. You cannot understand a relational dynamic based upon empiricism and observation. You have to go very much deeper, which is why it's easier, ironically, for me to teach Germans, fascist-ass Germans, in grad school than it is to teach Americans, because they don't need the tactile evidence of their experience to understand what's going on.
That's
okay,
a good
so
point.
I said that a pawn has a certain capacity. It can move two.
Stanley, are you familiar with axiology? I'm about to get
no, something to do with
I'm about to get way too nerdy on you here.
now wait, like axons in the brain?
It's more of a
or axioms?
It's more it's kind of like axioms, but it's looking more at like adaptations to culture. It comes out of anthropology and like anthropsychology. There's a man, and I've been meaning to ask you about. I'm glad this came up because I keep forgetting to ask you. Are you familiar with someone by the name of Dr. Edwin Nichols?
No.
Okay, I think it'd be really good for you.
Is
to
it
check
Nickles?
Or
Nichols, Nichols.
Yeah, OLS. Yeah.
What's his first name? Edwin?
Yeah, Edwin. Dr. Edwin Edwin Nichols.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Joy DeGruy Leary, who wrote Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome?
I am familiar. I've never read it.
Okay. Edwin Nichols was her mentor, and he's brilliant himself. But he talks about axiology and what he has created. And I know Stuart's familiar. What he's created was this. He did, and he's done research on this. But he has this chart. If I can find it, I'll try to put a link in the back chat where he racially categorizes people of the world. You know, he has like the typical Asians, the natives, blacks. He puts Black Americans and Africans and Caribbeans all in the same boat. And what he does in this chart, maybe we should pull it up. What he does in this chart is talks about just our perspectives on how we approach life and how it's different based on these ethnic kind of collectives or conclaves.
Now, does it tie into something like epigenetics?
I would stretch it. He doesn't talk about that, but I would stretch it to epigenetics, because I think culturally we live our lives in ways that we respond to our environments. So, like I use the example of Black youth, right? Black youth have different type of stress responses than non-Black youth, and I use the suburban example as just point out the environment. But your typical Black young person who lives in, let's say, North Minneapolis, which is what's considered the hood here in the Twin Cities, that kid has to worry about loud noises, sirens going off, people talking, arguing, music, sometimes avoiding violence, loose animals running around, trash, like the things that Be Brave likes to point out, right? It's like this an urban living dynamic. But a kid who doesn't live in that environment, they still have stress, homework, parents maybe getting a divorce, who knows, right? But the stressors are
losing your virginity.
Yeah, losing, exactly. Being peer pressured to smoke a cigarette, like it's different, but they still both have stressors, but culturally, due to their environment, they've had to respond to their stressors differently. Mm-hmm. That to me is how epigenetics plays out. Now, when we talk about epigenetics, it's usually what the parents are passing on to the kids, but the process doesn't stop there. Like the process of epigenetics develops over time as you grow. Your body, your nervous system is responding to your experiences. Mm-hmm. So yes, I would say that epigenetically, and this may be where history comes in, these conclaves of races or ethnicities, we've had to survive in particular environments that we've created culture around that leads to how we are today.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I don't know if
Yo,
I'm making
yeah, it does.
Okay. Let me see if I can find this chart. This would be a good way to end this conversation. Nichols.
Yeah, I probably I've been on here a while. So yeah, it probably is time to kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, I would agree. We can. I mean, we can. I can pull this up here if you
Yeah, I
want.
want to see the chart because
Uh,
I'll pull it up and make sure I save it somewhere.
Let's see. I'll put the link in the back chat, but if you want to share my screen, we can do it that way too.
Okay. I forget her name. There's a black physician. Forget what her specialty is, but let's see. Universal. Let's see here.
Can I zoom on this? Yeah.
Can you blow it up? There you go.
Yeah. So ultimately, what Dr. Edwin Nichols came up with, and I know he's worked with a couple of like grad students to pull this together. So it's not completely just some stuff he pulled out.
Is he a psychologist?
Yeah, he's an organizational he does organizational psychology, but he has like some very specialized psychology that he went to Germany. That's what kind of brought this out of my head. He went to Germany and was trained in some specialized psychological discipline. Very smart guy. He's from Detroit. Fucking brilliant. There's a couple interviews of him on YouTube too. So
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So ultimately, what this chart is stating, like I said, he's kind of like put us in these ethnic conclaves, and he talks about the worldview and how we approach things very differently based on, I guess, our ethnic collective connection. I don't know how to really term it. So he puts Europeans and Euro Americans in one group, Africans, African Americans, Latino, and Arabs. We're all kind of collect. He puts us together. Asians, Asians Americans, Polynesians, and then natives. And what axiology talks about is how we are to each, like how our worldviews are perceived towards one another. So Europeans are usually member to object with their value systems about their relationships to people. Africans, African Americans, Latinos, and Arabs are usually member to member people. And earlier we were talking about, and I was talking about the idolatry and why we use the term we and how we identify. Well, some of that is culture that we've maintained over hundreds of years because we're member to member people. So we feel connected to each other, even when it has nothing to do with us. There's some sense of like pride or connection when we don't even have relationships with each other. So we're member to member people. Asians are more member to group. So they place a high value that lies on cohesiveness of the group, right? Not necessarily the relationship. So they have, I am Korean, like I'm like that's who I am, and there's pride in that. And then natives are more member to Great Spirit, where they place a high value that lies on oneness with the Great Spirit. So ultimately, what he's done with this work is he's just looked at how we kind of collectively just break all these things down. So how do we apply the epistemology of each other, the pedagogy? How do we learn the methodology? How it's all played out, how we process logic, and then how we actually do process various different things. So it's an interesting chart, man. I dig into it and feel free to check it out.
Yeah, well, do you put the link in the back?
Yeah, it's in the link. Let me make sure I put it in the right space. It's in the studio chat in the back. Yeah, it says Chrome.
Okay, yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
God damn, I'm actually gonna have to do some studying tomorrow.
See, Stanley, I'm not just a bunch of bullshit and pop the balloon.
No, you know what?
Girls' laptops. There's some substance here. There's some substance.
I'm a believer.
I've learned how to code switch well. I can talk to anybody.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not.
But yeah, so I often bring this chart. I always kind of go back to it when I get stumped on people and race and all that. I'm like, okay, let me think through this yet again, because it's pretty, it's thick. It's a lot here, but if you use your anecdotal experiences in the books that you read, some of this starts to make a lot of sense. And then you think of, and then I talk about the victimhood mentality that African American folks have. I honestly think that exception of our worldview is what stops us. And when you see a John and a Be Brave go in on that and how dysfunctional we are, to me, I think there's a couple steps deeper than just pointing out the dysfunction, but there are answers to why. It's not just because we're dysfunctional. There's something going on there. And
I don't think we're in large part dysfunctional.
And that's where,
I actually think the people who are actually in some form of extremis, living in the hood, stacked on top of each other, I think it's extremely stressful.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it brings out the worst in people. You got poverty, you got, the geography of living on top of each other, almost like, cages on cages, in those high rise type apartments.
Yeah.
I just think the main problem, or one of the main problems I have, is when they go, like the title of a show John had the other day, Black Men Think Like This.
Yeah.
And if you don't put some sort of qualifier in front of it, you assume, or I assume, you mean all black men. And it drives me nuts when they paint with such a broad brush.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's a significant amount. It may not be all, but it's enough where it makes a difference.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't say it's even the majority.
Well, I don't
could be wrong.
Yeah.
Because I do know, just anecdotally, things like, hey brother, can I get a discount?
Yeah.
There are probably a lot of interactions, or just, like fleeting day-to-day like interactions that kind of go unnoticed that would indicate a victim mentality.
Yeah.
I do think culturally, I guess I might just have to concede it, though I really don't want to. But I think if it's a victim mentality, they're not using that mentality as any sort of roadblock. They just kind of, in their heart of hearts, think that America has been particularly unfair.
Yep.
And, if you leave things to chance, more than likely things will not turn out in a black man's favor.
Yeah, and I don't
know that that's not warranted.
How you gentlemen doing? Good night.
What's up, Latino?
What's up, Latino?
Not much. Just here listening to you guys. I agree with Stanley.
Isn't that kind of warranted though? If you don't keep your head on a swivel, you might actually, wind up on the short end of a deal or something like that. I think I think if the victim mentality, I think constant vigilance is something every black man in America probably needs to be.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that.
That is an indicator of a victim mentality. If you don't keep your head on a swivel, you have a higher chance of being a victim of something than other demographics.
That's true. And other demographics have created things that perpetuates the victimhood. They've capitalized on it because that's what you do here in America.
I guess what I'm saying isn't the victimhood mentality almost a survival strategy?
It is, and it works in a particular political environment, which is mostly liberal, because it feeds systems. It actually provides jobs to people. and that's why it's supported. But
well, why liberal and not conservative?
Well, because most of the places where stuff's happening, Stanley, they have mostly liberal rule, or I guess the best way, governance.
Okay, I see that part. I don't necessarily buy. If it's so bad and the Republicans have so many solutions, why are they not winning in these Democratic strongholds?
Because they don't know how to communicate or even relate.
Or could it just be they don't give a fuck?
And some don't. Some don't. Some are in spaces where like fuck it, as long as they don't come here, we're good. and I can be honest about that. And that's probably why a lot of black folks run to those areas, because like fuck, I can't do nothing about it either. So I'm just gonna go to a more majority white space.
And I think the other thing I think we need to start doing, and it's not really black people, but all people, we really need to stop thinking in these two-dimensional paradigms.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's helpful if, hey, I don't give a shit, it's a democratic city. As a matter of fact, talking to Mike from Boston, I happened, he was driving around Mississippi.
Yeah, I seen it earlier. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I got to, the topic came up. Well, hey, Mississippi's in a bad way, and it's a Republican state. Well, the worst parts are in Democratic cities. And I'm just like, if you are a Republican governor and you see a city run by Democrats crashing and burning, you need to step in.
Yeah, but it's.
I mean, how are you going to let a city in your state fail because of leadership in good conscience?
It's just kind of hard, though.
Why?
I mean, we done it here in Massachusetts, but it had to take like somebody to really mess up, to really mess up things for a conservative to come through and basically, get the opportunity at least so he or her could even be looked at. But here in Massachusetts, it's usually just Democrats, dude.
I kind of suspect that a lot of it is just nonchalance. It's not happening to my community. It's not happening to Republicans in general. We will just concede these cities to the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, but don't you think that it's because they feel like they might not be enough, that they don't have a chance to win, basically?
Make a chance to win. I mean, never say never. And
no,
I know
you're right. I mean, Charlie Baker, Mitt Romney.
That's probably a little unreasonable of me, but it really does get under my skin when a Republican governor wants to condemn a Democratic city in his state. I just find that annoying.
Yeah, because around here, basically, like most of the suburbs is red, but like most of the city is blue, and the city outnumbers us by.
Okay, well, you know what? It's gonna stay fucked up until people start thinking more of the country and the people rather than party.
I would agree.
I would agree.
And, it's both sides that do that. You're a Republican governor, and you see a city in your state failing, to a degree that it's just dangerous. I just don't know that I could live in good conscience going, oh, well, that's a Democratic problem.
Yeah, to be honest, when Charlie Baker, which is now the president of the NCAA, I didn't really like him, and he was a Republican.
Head of a local chapter or the national chapter?
What for NCAA?
NAACP, you mean?
No, like NCAA, like the college.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he went from being the governor of Massachusetts to now being
Oh, I see.
yeah. So now he's the president of the NCAA.
Okay. Well, I think that Republican governors, if they see, their Jackson, Mississippi's going to pot, they should step in. And, not doing it because of politics concerns me. But, it is America, I guess.
What is Mississippi? Mississippi's red though, right?
The state is the capital city is Democrat. Oh, and the irony is that the white part of town is looking to secede from the city. From the
Get out,
city.
dude.
Yeah, it's
They
happening.
They want to do the same thing in somewhere
Louisiana.
in Oregon.
Yeah, Louisiana had a situation like that too. I think we're going to see a lot more of that over the next few years. Is this kind of parish and city splitting thing happening?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's all based on race. I think a lot of it's based on classism.
Yeah, economics.
Yeah, because there'll be a few black people in that white breakaway city.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to look up that story, but now that you guys bring that up, there was a story in somewhere in Georgia where there was a town that actually wants to be part from the other town, basically because their kids are going to school and it's ruining their kids' education, and they're like,
is it Buckhead?
Yeah,
They want basically secede from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I was like, that's crazy. I don't know how that's going to work.
We're going to see a lot more of that.
Happening. There's a decent amount of black people living in Buckhead, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it. In Atlanta, definitely, yeah.
I mean, I'm not from Georgia, but I always thought that Georgia was like 80% black.
Nope.
Georgia's more than Atlanta, folks.
It's either Texas or Mississippi right now. It seems to change every now and again. At one point, Texas had at least number-wise blacks than anywhere. Now, percentage-wise, I think it's maybe Georgia or Alabama. But no, none of these states.
You wouldn't think Maryland
50-50. There's certain pockets in these states that are maybe 50-50.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think Maryland would have been like a higher number?
No.
It's not Mississippi. Oh, it is Texas. Wow. I thought it was Mississippi.
Oh, it is Texas?
Yeah, so Texas has the largest black population in the United States in 2020. From 2020, by the way.
But I don't think per capita they don't.
No, they don't.
I'm sorry, not per capita, but percentage of population.
Percentage wise, they have 3.96 million number. Let me find the percent.
Dude, I seen the funniest video today.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know this was Texas.
Yo, this video is like what did it say, babe? It said if race didn't matter, like if we lived like back in the days, and then it was like this little kid singing a song, and it was like if we sang together, what the world would sound, and then the Chinese part came along, and it was like ting 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 ting. Let me see what I'm saying. Give a second. Yo, wait.
Yeah, I mean that's how it is. Oh,
when they went to the Hispanic for people, the tacos, chimichangas.
See, that's fucked up. There's more than fucking tacos and chimichangas, but it is what it is.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's fucking
I
hilarious.
just thought it was funny, dude.
It is funny. It's hilarious.
Oh god, that should have me crying.
But I'm about to cycle out, gentlemen. I was on here way longer than I expected, but good conversation, Stanley. We'll keep.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Let me know when you want to get to the rest of the video.
Yeah, I actually might be back tomorrow if you're around.
Okay.
Before the Super Bowl kicks off.
You got my email, right?
I don't.
Just do the JGHB Stanley dot. It's Stanley at JGHB for John.
I got it. Okay. Yep.
.info.
Yep. The channel email, just your first name and the channel email. I got you.
Jones, who you got tomorrow?
Man, I am praying that the Eagles beat the Chiefs, but I cannot go against Patrick Mahomes. I think the Chiefs are gonna win again. I don't know if it's the American me or what. I don't like when people just keep winning all the time.
You think it's going to be a high scoring game?
You're basically saying, hey, I hope we don't give tough guy anything to crow about.
Oh man, I didn't even think it. He's gonna crow over anyway. But yeah, yeah, man. Is it gonna be a high scoring game? I think it's gonna be a pretty high scoring game.
I think they're gonna take it away from Patrick Mahomes.
I want to see Jalen Hurts do well.
Yeah, same here, dude. Same here, dude.
Yeah, him. I think Saquon getting a championship.
Yeah, I think Saquon is gonna go off tomorrow.
Yeah. It should be a good game. It should be a good game. Definitely should be a good game. Cool. Well, again, appreciate the time. For those of you who are in the chat or watching this later, subscribe to my channel by Brandon Jones.
Oh yeah. Did you drop your link?
I'll drop the link. I have passed 500 subs a few days ago.
Congratulations.
I'm at 523. I'm trying to get those watch time hours so I can get monetized. So definitely check me out. By Brandon Jones, BYBRANDONJONES on YouTube.
Apparently, John's going live in 30 minutes.
Oh,
word.
I'll probably be listening.
What is he going to talk about?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to go, since he's going live in 30 minutes, I'm going to wrap this up because I have literally been on, 20 hours.
Wow.
Damn, Stanley.
Yeah.
I was having a good time. It's not like I had a lot to do today, but yeah, all good things must come to an end, folks. Please make sure you hit the like button, share and subscribe if you're new, and also Stanley Cross 6000 at Stanley Cross 6000 is my channel. I'm at a whole 75.
Nice.
So please subscribe to my channel. Get me to 100.
That's right.
But actually, I've got a couple things. I've been playing around with OBS. So I think I'm going to do one. I've got a video on the Constitution, and then which is a farther out project. But I've got something. Are you familiar with Richard Hanania? He's like a right-wing quote intellectual. He's a smart guy, but there's a Substack he did that I want to do a video on, and then there's also I'm gonna do one on the Moynihan report.
Oh yeah, I gotta come back for that one then. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do uploads unless you want to do it live.
Oh, I'll comment on the uploads. Do that. Yeah, that's cool.
Y'all making me want to start working again on my channel, dude.
You need to, man. I think one of the things and I'll stay around and talk about this because I talk about this with John offline. We really got to start, the people who at least come on panel, really start to encourage folks to start their own channels. Even if you just go on there and you just say something for 3 minutes, like this is a great opportunity to start getting involved with this and getting out there. I think you fucking a lot of people who don't, like even Sweet Auntie yesterday we emailed back and forth because she mentioned she wanted to start a channel. I was like, hey, look, if you need some help, let me know. So that's anybody. If you need some help, I can assist. I'm over there doing the Lord's work with Lowe's channel. Her shit's exploding.
Nice.
She's got the cheat code though, look, cute girl, but yeah, I think we all can leverage this opportunity.
I can manage putting on a wig.
What OBS, the one thing I don't like is all it's really going to be good for is for me anyway is doing pre-records. It doesn't work as well is something like StreamYard or Streamlabs.
Yeah, it's not as
because you don't have the ability to like bring people up to a panel.
Right. Yeah, it's not as user friendly.
Well, that's fine. That's fine for me because I mean my channel is really going to be more for projects.
Before I get off, I want to ask one more question. How many people do you actually need to subscribe so you can actually go live like we're going on right now?
Oh, if you use StreamYard, you don't need any followers for StreamYard. If you want to go live straight from YouTube, I think you have to have 100 subs or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, really? Well, 25 to go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go, Stanley.
But that's streaming live straight from YouTube. Most people don't do that. They're using third-party thing. It's just easier.
Yeah, but to use that third party, like for instance, like we're doing right now, how many subscribers you need?
None. We can get on there with no subscribers.
Yeah, StreamYard doesn't care.
Yeah. So just start a free StreamYard account. Yeah, just start a free StreamYard account and start going live. And you can also do pre-records on StreamYard as well.
But it will go live on my channel, though, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I will have to go.
Oh shit! You know what? I'm thinking John's going live. Shit, that's my live. I'm gonna go. Let me go and reschedule this thing. God damn, I'm so tired. I don't even recognize.
Oh, you thought it was John or it was you? It's you.
I thought it was John.
It's you.
That's me.
I
had originally planned on, HB left, so I just went ahead and finished off Gone Trucking.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, I'm not going live tonight, folks. This is as late as I'm going to go because I'm not even drinking, but I'm so tired I'm slurring.
Yeah, dude, I think I'm about to go to sleep. It's been a good 3, 4, 5 days, I want to say.
Wow.
I have made bank.
Good, man. That's good.
Fucking yeah, like a buck, $1.70, $1.60 every day, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Shit adds up.
Yep, grinding. Stanley, I'm putting your channel in the chat. Some people are asking for it. I got it.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll be around tomorrow. Maybe we can finish our conversation. We'll see how things are going.
Absolutely.
Joe,
a snowstorm, so I ain't going nowhere. What's up?
I'm gonna try to get up early in the morning so we could talk about the Super Bowl to see if to see get a little tips on a parlay. Who knows?
Sounds good. And then I'll put my link in my email in the back chat. So if you want to talk about YouTube
cool.
stuff.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
All right. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, chat. Have a good night.
Feel like I should go. Feel like I should go. Feel like I should go.